Hello, hello. How are you guys doing? Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Please let me know in the comments where you guys are based in, where you're watching from, what planet, what galaxy, and I will begin to unravel what is happening right now in Palestine. Things are getting very, very, very hot. Very hot. We've got people tuning in from Canada, from Mexico City, from Gaza, from the UK, from New Zealand, from Denmark, Siberia, California, Miami, Florida, the United States, Pluto, Moscow, Norway, Panama, South Africa, Brisbane, Thailand, Poland. It's going so fast I can barely read them. Chicago, the UK, Guadeloupe. Hold on. People are just listing planets in there as well. Seattle, Ghana, Maryland, Sweden, Hawaii, Kashmir, Maryland again, Los Angeles, the Netherlands, Sierra Leone, Las Vegas, Turkey, Greece, and on and on and on and on. I think we can safely assume that the entire, well, we've got at least one person from each country, right? So let's just say the whole planet is there. Well, when done to you guys. Well done, well done. We've also got people from Syria, from Portugal, from Hong Kong, Sydney, Brazil. Wow. Okay, I love you guys. I love you. So let me break down what's been happening in the last couple of days. I'm going to try and do this in separate chapters because and tell you, of course, what's happening right now. I'm going to try and do it chronologically because hold on. So man, I've got so much material over here. I cannot even make it out. I can't even make out what it is. Hold on. Okay. My favorite one is from Lindsey Graham, where he's saying that they should bomb Iran. You know, just like out of nowhere. Let's bomb their oil infrastructure. Okay. You know, I think that one's funny. First of all, because it's Lindsey Graham, but also because of what he's saying about Iran, right? So it's really, really interesting because, hold on, here's the clip, okay? Okay, just so we can get this like randomness out of the way. There we go. You guys ready? So once again, this is Lindsey Graham saying that because of what's happening right now in Palestine, that they should go and bomb the Iranians. Okay?
In the last hour, announcing it's going to begin to execute hostages and post video evidence online for every Israeli airstrike. Your thoughts on this moment, Senator?
Well, for every Israeli or American hostage executed by Hamas, we should take down an Iranian oil refinery. The only way you're going to keep this war from escalating is to hold Iran accountable. How much more death and destruction do we have to take from the Iranian regime? I am confident.
I feel like this guy's dementia is starting to set in and he doesn't know what war they're discussing. And he's just like, he threw an American hostage in there, even though there's like, there are no American hostages. He just threw it in there. It was like it's a gag reflex.
This was planned and funded by the Iranians. Hamas is a bunch of animals who deserve to be treated like animals. So
very interesting language because he's not the only one to say that word today. So the Israeli defense minister said, actually, he didn't just mean Hamas. He said that all Palestinians, right, are human animals. I'll get to his clip in a second, okay?
Hamas is a bunch of animals who deserve to be treated like animals. So if I was Israel, I would go in on the ground.
You're literally Israel, but okay. Why don't you go ahead, Senator? Let's see you go first. Number one, you're first in line.
No truce to be had here. I would dismantle Hamas. This is the best opportunity Israel has to destroy Hamas. Take it to the Iranians. If you harm one American in Syria by using your Iranian militia against us in
what? Well, you could leave Syria. That's just an option. I'm just putting that out there. You don't actually have to be in Syria. You do realize that's not your country, yeah?
Syria. If you escalate the war by urging Hezbollah to attack Israel in the north, if Hamas kills one American and Israeli hostage, we're going to blow up your oil refineries and put you out of business. business. It is now time to take the war to the Ayatollahs back.
He's just blabbing, because I saw that there are 10 Americans that have been killed. I don't know if they're Israeli Americans. I don't know if they're tourists. I have no clue. So if that were true, they would have already done something. Okay. But I want to point out something interesting, because while it is true that Iran and Hamas are allies, I thought that the Iranians only support Shia militias, right? Hamas is nothing to do with that. Hamas are a Sunni Muslim, and they're Muslim Brotherhood. Checkmate, dumbass. So what Graham, and I swear to God, you can go and find these statements if you want. And if it's not him, you can go and find them from Blinken or Biden or whatever. It doesn't matter what party they're in. They will always come back and say the Iranian or the Iranian-backed Shia militias, right? They always say this, the Shia militias. Well, what does that have to do with Hamas then? Are they Shia all of a sudden? Do you see how this doesn't make any sense? Like, their understanding of the Middle East is it's ignorant and it's flawed, right? It's ignorant and it's flawed. And because before they would say, well, there's a rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran because of the fact that Saudi Arabia is Sunni and because Iran is Shia. Well, that's not true, because there is no rivalry. They made a peace this year. They normalized ties. As a matter of fact, it was the Chinese who mediated that, right? So obviously this doesn't play a role in anything. And you've had, the Iranians visiting Saudi Arabia and vice versa, and everything's okay. And Hamas is another example of this. And I've said this many times before. So I find this interesting that now they're like putting Iran into this. Now, here's the thing. Does Iran have anything to do with what's happening right now in Palestine? Yes and no. The Iranians have not they don't send their own people there. It's just a long-standing policy that they are going to support whoever in the region. Doesn't matter, again, Sunni, Shia, literally makes no difference. Syria is a secular state, for example. It's a secular country, Syria. Iran supports Syria. Venezuela is in Latin America. It's not Muslim. It's nothing to do with that, right? It's not Shia. It's nothing to do with this dichotomy. Oh, it's either Shia or Sunni. They still support Venezuela. Hamas is another example of this. How it does. This plays absolutely no role. So what's happened here is that this operation which is called Al-Aqsa Flood. Okay, so Aqsa is the mosque in Jerusalem. They call it Dome of the Rock in English sometimes. Okay, so they named the operation after that. Okay, which again shows you that this is about how the Israelis, they are not only mistreating people in Gaza and besieging Gaza, but it's also got to do with their policies of constantly going into the Aqsa Mosque and tear gassing people, especially during Ramadan, and it's many things, right? This is the entire conflict since 48. That's what this is right now. You're seeing the anger that's accumulated from that coming out. So what's happened is that this operation is very, very successful from an intelligence standpoint, from a military standpoint. It's been executed flawlessly. The Israelis never saw, they had no clue what hit them. They never saw this coming. Never. Now, there's some Israelis who think that, well, obviously, Israel took down the security fence, which they spent billions, investing in and digging several meters underground and putting up, even to the point that it's in the goddamn sea, in the sea. That they think that the Israelis let Hamas come inside so Netanyahu would have an excuse to go to war with Palestine. He doesn't need an excuse. They do it all the time. Like, do these people watch the news? Do you even watch the news? You think that the Israelis allowed this to happen? Stop giving them so much credit. The Israelis are not God. They like to think that they're God, but they're not. The Israelis are stupid. They're arrogant. They let their guard down, and Hamas took advantage of that. And after all, this is their right. It's their country. This is not this fence is a fence. It's not a border. If I come into house and I erect a fence, you know, and I start trying to, you know, carve up your house, you're not going to recognize whatever the hell it is I'm doing there, right? You're just going to blast me away and kick my ass. That's what you would do, because I came into your house. The Israelis came into the Palestinians' house. It's their house. You cannot go on somebody else's home turf and win, you know? This is not the first time that something like this happens. This is, you know, very reminiscent of the Tet offensive in January 1968. So this was, you know, Tet was, it's kind of the opposite, right? Because 50 years ago, almost to the day, you had the Yom Kippur War in 1973, and that's a holiday for Jews. When it comes to the Tet offensive, it was not a holiday for the Americans, it was a holiday for the Vietnamese. But nevertheless, they took advantage of this, and the Americans had their guard down because they thought, oh, well, everybody's out celebrating or something. They're not going to bother attacking us. No, they bothered. They bothered very much, in fact, to do so. And they took the Americans by surprise and kicked their ass. Okay? So the same thing you could say with Dien Bien Phu, although I mentioned that just because it's Vietnam, and because the Vietnamese crushed the French, although that one had less to do with the element of surprise. If you want to talk about the element of surprise, which this very much is about, then the Tet offensive would be a great analogy. So this is really, really embarrassing for the Israelis. So don't let them, you know, don't give them credit and think, oh, well, they allowed this. No, there are psyops. You do have things where, you know, the CIA will go and do something that is against American interests so they can justify doing something. Yes, you have these in politics. This is not one of them. This is not one of them. This is you know, this is a huge victory for the global South. It's a victory for colonized people. So everybody who's been colonized or is living under colonialism still is looking at this and thinking, wow, maybe I can also overthrow the guy who's taken my home and taken my land and taken my resources and boxed me in. Remember, Niger just kicked out the French, right? So that's another victory, an anti-colonial fight that the Nigerians took to the French and won. It's not a good year for colonizers. It's not a good year to be a colonizer. And the Israelis are colonizers, make no mistake. So let me try and continue and give you a recap of what's going on, okay? So as of now, right, it's a little bit past midnight in Palestine. Actually, it's almost 3. In any case, you know, it's October 10th, and now I want to give you a recap. You've had around 900 Israelis that have been killed. Some are saying it's 1,000 already. And for once, and I was quite surprised, for once the majority of the casualties are Israelis. I'm not used to seeing this, right? Because every time the Israelis attack Gaza or they attack the West Bank, whether it's a raid or it's a war, you know, it's always the Palestinians who are suffering the most casualties, okay? You know, you've had many of the wars in Gaza, like 2009 and 2014 and so on, where you've got like 1,600 Palestinians who are killed, the bulk of them, of course, civilians, and then you have 50 Israelis who are dead, 50, 60 maybe. I mean, you know, again, asymmetric is an understatement. So the Israelis are very much used to, you know, just bombing the crap out of people in Lebanon or in Syria or in Gaza and you know, suffering minimal casualties, if anything. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't suffer tactical defeats, because 2006, they did a lot of damage. They inflicted a lot of damage, you know, against the Lebanese, but they still suffered a tactical defeat. Now, in this case, the Israelis are suffering not only a massive intelligence failure and a tactical defeat, but also the bulk of the casualties. From what I'm seeing, the death toll among Palestinians is 300, 400. And just again, to show you what they're doing, the Israelis, because they want you to think that the Israelis are victims, right? This is Gaza this morning. So, you know, the Israelis do what they're the best at doing and what they do best, which is bombing civilians, you know, playing the tough guy. They come with their F-16s and they drop bombs on civilians who have no means of defending themselves, who have no conventional air force, no conventional armed forces, no conventional navy, who have no means of firing surface-to-air missiles, who have no anti-aircraft, nothing. You know, just drop bombs on a couple of hospitals and so on. Here you can see, this is Gaza again. So, you know, they're taking their time. I mean, honestly, this looks like an apocalypse. It really does. It looks like the apocalypse. Actually, I think it might be 600 Palestinians killed. So that's double than what I just told you. 300 to 600, right? Look at the scale of the bombing all day. They've been doing this all day, right? I mean, the Israelis, you know, they want you to believe that they are the most moral army in the world. That's what they call themselves, right? That's like actually a slogan that they use. The most moral army in the world, yes? And they've got, as I said, F-16s. They receive $3.8 billion from the Americans every year, sometimes more. And they have access to more armaments, technology, weapons. So you would think that their targeting methods would be more sound, that they know who they're hitting. They can be more surgical, quote unquote, right? They want you to believe that they do surgical strikes, when that's absolutely not the case. They are at best, and again, this is giving them the benefit of the doubt, they are at best the most sloppy, careless army in the world. That's not the truth, though. They are doing this on purpose, right? In 2021, in May, when they were bombing Gaza, again, they purposely destroyed the main road that leads to the hospital, the main hospital in Gaza. Just destroyed the road so ambulances can't get there. I'm going to be here all night if I start going through this. It's really too extensive. So, you know, if Hamas are terrorists because they kill civilians, what does that make the Israelis who have an air force and do this? Answer me that. What does that make the Israelis? So, look, they're just going. You know, keep in mind, this is the Gaza Strip. I mean, the Gaza Strip is because, look, I'm going to show you the map. The Gaza Strip is a tiny piece of land on the Mediterranean Sea where the Israelis have surrounded Palestinians and boxed them in like a ghetto. It's a ghetto. Some people call it an open air prison. Some people call it a ghetto. I don't care. At the end of the day, the result is the same. So this is what's going on. Look at that. They have boxed the Palestinians in. And every checkpoint is controlled by the Israelis. Okay? You cannot go in or out without a pass. You cannot go out to fish or go out to the sea as you wish, because there's a 6 nautical mile limit that's imposed by the Israeli Navy with their gunships. And of course, there's this famous, a few years ago, there's this famous incident, as they like to call it, where the Israelis just randomly killed like 3 Palestinian boys who were playing on the beach. You know, just there's no fighting, there's nothing, you just like shot them, just killed them, blew them to bits. So, you know, this is a ghetto. There are 2.1 million people living in this area, okay? It's a ghetto. That's what it is. The water, the food, the electricity, what goes in, down to cement. Like, your home's been destroyed, you want to rebuild your home? Too bad. There's no cement. You're not allowed to have cement. Fuck you. That's what Israel does. And if you don't believe me, here is Israel's defense minister a few hours ago saying no more food, no more water, no more electricity for everybody in Gaza. 2.1 million people. Everybody. Not Hamas, everybody.
אנחנו מטילים We are imposing a complete siege on Gaza. There will be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything will be closed. We are fighting against human animals, and we are acting accordingly.
Human animals. I mean, if I had given you the exact quote that he just said of what he just said, you would think this is a Nazi talking about Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto. Human animals. That's what he called everybody in the Gaza Strip. No food, no water, no electricity. Who the fuck does that? What are you running, a concentration camp? Yeah, looks like he is. You know, we should not mince words. We should not mince words. This guy thinks he's very tough. He would not last 2 minutes outside. He wouldn't last 2 minutes. He's a big tough guy. So here's something else. Here's something else. This is see, the thing is that when Hamas went into when they started this operation 2 days ago, you know, they know that there's going to be collective punishment, because every single time that anybody farts or coughs in Palestine, there's collective punishment. And I don't need to tell you that what this guy just said is against the Geneva Convention. No, I know that this is the Geneva Convention translates to toilet paper in Israel, but nevertheless, you should know that it's a war crime. You cannot collectively punish an entire country by cutting off food, water, and electricity. You cannot even punish prisoners of war, soldiers that you've captured, by cutting off their food, water, and electricity. It doesn't matter whether these are civilians or captured soldiers. You cannot do this. It's a war crime. And Israel is legally, by legal definition, not morally, legally, an occupying power in Palestine. Okay? So they are breaking the law. And so this is, of course, if you don't think that this is, if you think that there's nothing wrong with what he's doing morally, maybe you would care legally. I don't know. I doubt it. But in any case, I'm telling you that in every way, every lens that you use to look at this situation, it's bad, right? The Israelis, if they're really victims, why are they punishing 2.1 million people that they have already besieged? Remember that he's saying that we are going to impose a full siege. Yeah. He means by cutting off the water even more. You see, what the Israelis have done before is that they calculated how much food people in Gaza need to eat to survive, right? Like what is the bare amount of calories? Calories, like, when you go on a diet, and when you eat stuff, you look at the nutritional value and you try to count up the calories. The Israelis did this for the purpose of looking at how much food they can give the Gazans, but as little as possible, just to make sure that they stay alive. And then they actually gave them less than that. And the only other example that I know of this in recent history is Nazi Germany. Okay, the food minister, the Nazi food minister, was called Backe. That's his name. He did something called the hunger plan. You can take a guess. You can guess already what it was. When they took all these Soviet prisoners of war, which they considered to be subhuman in Nazi Germany, Backe calculated how many calories they would need in order to starve the Soviet prisoners down to something ridiculous, like 50 or 60 calories a day. I don't have the figure off the back of my head. I used to do presentations about this stuff. So the point is that they gave the Soviets as little as possible, and guess what? A lot of them died because of hunger. Millions. And they gave the food to the Nazi soldiers, right? So this is a perfect analogy to what is happening in Gaza. So now, instead of giving them too little calories to survive, they're giving them no calories to survive, right? So it's gone from out of the frying pan into the fire. Hamas know that this is going to happen. There's always something that the Israelis do to crap on everybody. So when you are in a situation like this, you have nothing to lose. You literally have nothing to lose. So why not just go all out? Why not go all out? Again, the Israelis want you to think, oh, they're victims. Oh, Hamas are terrorists. No, man, you're starving 2 million people. You've surpassed terrorists. You become genocidal at this point. Let's call him General Genocide. Right? That's his rank. No, but that's the Israeli defense minister I just showed you, right? Very defensive. So, you know, I just want to show you as well. I mean, this is quite heartbreaking, okay? It's not the only video I've seen, but this is someone in Gaza who... I think the video is self-explanatory. I don't think you need a translation. So I've seen too many videos already today of Palestinian parents or fathers, you know, like holding their dead children. Too many. You know, like, you know that story that they made up about Iraq when they said, Iraqis are coming into the hospitals in Kuwait and they're killing babies in incubators. The funny thing is that that's exactly what they're doing right now to the Palestinians. I literally saw incubators full of dead babies, and that I can assure you that is actually real this time, right? It's not like the lie that they spread about Iraq. This is real. It's Israel. No, this is really messed up. This is, and every year the Palestinians deal with this. This is not something new. You can go to pick anyone you want. You know, 2012, 2009, 2014. You're gonna go find the same videos. You know, it's like parents holding their dead children. So if you are a Palestinian, this is what makes you want to join Hamas. And like he said, all the way to Tel Aviv. That's what he said. What do you have to lose? You live in a ghetto. You are told by the world that you're a terrorist, and then they kill your children, and you're supposed to just accept this and live with no food and electricity. And, you know, like, dude, do you think they give a shit what they're saying on CNN? They could not care less. They couldn't care less. This means nothing to them. This propaganda and this bullshit speeches is irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. You know, it's like there's nothing to lose at this point. And keep in mind, you know, I'm only talking to you about Gaza. Again, I will show you the map. This is just Gaza, right? You know, we can also talk about Jerusalem. We can talk about the West Bank. They've like cut Palestine into multiple pieces, right? So there's no geographical continuity. Like if you're in Gaza, you can't go to the West Bank, because you need a pass from the Israelis, right? Like they like I said, they control your movement. You know, they control your politics. They control your food, everything. And the funny thing is that they're saying that, you know, Hamas are terrorists. This is from I want to show you this cable from WikiLeaks. This is from 2007. So keep in mind, in 2006, 2007, you had elections in Gaza. And Hamas won the elections, okay? Hamas, again, I will clarify this. Hamas is not a militant group. It's a political party. It's a Muslim Brotherhood political party that also has a military wing, okay? Just like Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a political party. They participate in elections. They win seats. And they also have a military wing. And actually, they also do a lot of social programs, right? Like when Iran was sending fuel, they went and took this fuel and distributed, you know, mutual aid and all these kinds of things, okay? So it's very extensive. It's not as simple as, you know, they tell you on the news. In any case, there were elections and Hamas won. And, you know, you would think that Israel would be very upset. That's not what the cable says, okay? So this is from the head, okay, of Israel's defense intelligence, okay? And his name is Yadlin. So over here in this cable, Yadlin is saying that Israel would be happy if Hamas took over Gaza because the Israelis could then deal with Gaza as a hostile state. He, meaning the head of the Israeli defense intelligence chief, dismissed the significance of an Iranian role in a Hamas-controlled Gaza, quote, as long as they don't have a port, unquote. So if you didn't understand, I'll translate. The Israelis were happy to see Hamas win the elections in Gaza because they could use that as an excuse to bomb the crap out of Gaza and treat it as a hostile state. Lo and behold, that's what they've done. They know that Hamas is not really a threat. Well, they didn't until before yesterday, right? And it's true, there is no significant Iranian role. There isn't. Just because Iran helps does not mean Iran controls Gaza. You should absolutely do not mix these things up. Do not mix these things up. So in any case, I'm just showing you, you know, a good analogy to this is actually Hillary Clinton. You know, she thought that, well, Donald Trump would make a good adversary in the elections because she thinks that she can use his image against him to win the elections. And actually, well, she screwed up. She didn't actually expect him to win, and it backfired and so on. You know, now don't misunderstand and think that Hamas is working for Israel. No, this is absolutely not true. I'm just showing you that the Israelis, when they go on the news now and tell you Hamas are this and Hamas are terrorists, they're bullshitting. They're the ones who've been fostering this image on purpose just so they can besiege Gaza. They just want to make sure Palestinians have no access to the sea. No access to the sea whatsoever. They want to make sure Palestinians don't have a functioning country. They want to make sure Palestinians have no say over any decision in their lives. Nothing. Not even about the water. So, you know, there's no need to complicate it. It's really that simple. It's colonialism, right? It's just colonialism. It's nothing else. And I'll actually, I want to show you how disgusting these politicians are. Like these are some of the tweets or statements, right? Like Biden is saying that, you know, the United States supports Israel no matter what. Yeah, I'm sure he's seen the same videos that I showed you, but he doesn't care, right? And he says that the United States unequivocally condemns this appalling assault against Israel by Hamas terrorists from Gaza. You know, got all the keywords in there, terrorist. This is Macron, the French president, putting out a joint statement from France, Italy, Germany, the UK, the US, and saying that we express our steadfast and united support to the state of Israel and our unequivocal condemnation of Hamas and its appalling acts of terrorism. Well, why don't you condemn the Israelis for cutting off food and water for 2 million people? Like, I don't understand how this is not even a difficult thing to do. You know what Blinken did, the U.S. Secretary of State, his office put out a tweet in the last day saying that he wants the Israelis to reach a ceasefire agreement with Hamas and basically to cool it with the airstrikes, right? That's what he was implying. And he deleted it. He wasn't even saying that he disagrees with the Israelis. He was just saying that there should be a ceasefire, and he deleted it. Do you see the threshold that we're dealing with here? And then there's another U.S. official who did the same thing. And it's funny because it's Haaretz who are writing this. This is an Israeli newspaper that is calling them out. And then, of course, you know, here, this is really, I mean, this is the best one. This is, hold on, let me show you a photo of this nasty stuff, okay? Look at the European Union. First of all, they've suspended aid to Gaza, right? Like, it's not enough that there's no food or water coming in anymore, or electricity or fuel. No, now the EU has to crap on them too, right? Really punish them, make sure they understand. And look what they did outside all these buildings. The EU Commission building put up a giant Israeli flag, like on the side of it, okay? Do you see that? It's funny because maybe you can't see it so well, but on the right of the picture, the other side of this building is symmetric, right? It's symmetrical to the left side. So you could easily, if you wanted, put up a Palestinian flag on the other side, right? Like if you wanted, you could put up an Israeli and a Palestinian flag to show that, you know, you want peace. You want a two-state solution. No, they don't even bother. It's like screw you, no aid, screw you, no moral support. And screw you, here's an Israeli flag. It's multiple screws, right? And it's not only them. It's not just the EU, right? Look, it's the Bundestag, right? Actually, this is next to the Reichstag. It's the Brandenburger Tor. Okay, so it's the Reichstag is to your right once you pass by the gate, and of course the American embassy is on the left to where the photographer is standing. You know what I find funny with this photograph? It's like the Germans, they can't make up their minds. You know, one second they're like massacring millions of Jews, and then the next they're saying, "Oh, we love Israel. We're going to beam a projector onto the thing." You know, it's on that Jews and Zionism should be conflated, but you know, make up your minds. They go like 1,000% in one direction, and then 1,000% in the other direction. I don't know. I think it's, you know, here's the Empire State Building, and the French here. So you know, the thing is that the French statement here that I was reading to you, where is it again? Yeah, this is from Macron. Let me just read a couple of lines, okay? So he's saying, in recent days, the world has watched in horror as Hamas massacred families in their homes, slaughtered over 200 young people enjoying a music festival, kidnapped elderly women, children, and entire families. You know, it's like they just sat down and they said like, bon, on va mettre les crimes les plus horribles, qu'est-ce que t'en penses? You know, let's put down the worst crimes you can think of. So I'll get back to this, okay? I'll get back to the list in a second. And they say here, all of us recognize the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people. Again, in politics, this means fuck you, no state. That's what it means. But make no mistake, Hamas does not represent those aspirations. And it offers nothing for the Palestinian people other than more terror and bloodshed. That means if you try to resist in any way, we will shit on you. That's what this means. That's what this means. And you're seeing it in the flesh. You know, if they're saying that Hamas doesn't represent Palestinians, but then they're okay with all the Palestinians starving, I'm sorry. Well, in Gaza anyway, right? So, I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And people, make no mistake, right now, the whole Arab world is happy. It's not that they like any violence. On the contrary, people prefer no violence. They would prefer that the Israelis go back to where they came from and they give back the land to the Palestinians. No one is interested in fighting. But they are happy that Hamas was able to humiliate the Israelis. Even Palestinians who do not agree with Hamas usually are happy about this. This is a one video. I think this is from I don't know if it's in Beirut, it's in Lebanon, okay? That was quite loud, my goodness. I think, wow. They're just out partying, right, with Palestinian flags. So, make no mistake, there's a lot of moral support for the Palestinians. People are sick of watching Palestinians being brutalized and so on. And it's like watching somebody punch a bully in the jaw. This is what happened, okay? Let me simplify this as much as possible. What Hamas did, it's like watching someone who's being bullied punch the bully in the jaw. That's what happened. What the Israelis tell you afterwards, I mean, otherwise, I really don't care. You know, it's just propaganda. The mainstream media is so full of propaganda. It's sickening. You cannot turn on one channel in any language in the West and listen to actual news. It's just pro-Israel bullshit the whole time. You know, so you should be biased in favor of the truth. The truth is that Palestinians are living under siege. Palestinians are colonized by Israelis, and they are fighting against the colonizer. That is the truth. And then you should report that truth. So that's what I'm doing. And again, if you think that, if you think that there's anything wrong with the Palestinians watching their own countrymen fight back, let me show you something here that is actually sickening. I'm glad that Tim posted this. So he says 9 years ago, young Israelis in the Negev, that's the desert, right, cheered as they watched the 2014 Israeli massacre of Palestinians in Gaza. Some described it as the best reality show in town, and others said it was better than the World Cup. So they're basically going up on a hill, and they're watching the Israeli planes just like drop bombs and, carry out airstrikes over and over and over. I mean, I understand, there's a difference between watching your countrymen or your army, like watching the RAF bombing Nazi Germany, and then there's the Israelis carrying out massacres against Palestinians. These two things are completely different. You know, they know that they have the upper hand. The Israelis know that they are in control of the land, and they know that they are oppressors and that they are being unfair. You cannot tell me that they are you know, ignorant of what is going on and they don't know that they are living in a colony. This is bullshit. They know what they are doing to the Palestinians. Everybody, the whole world knows. How can they cheer this on? So let me just see real quick. I'm going to continue. I'm not even anywhere near done. Okay, we've got 2,700 people watching. Please make sure you've hit the like button, and please make sure that you share the videos afterward, because we are not going to allow the Israelis an inch. They are not going to get away with starving, cutting off water and fuel to the Palestinians, controlling their land, and also have propaganda victories. We're not going to allow them to do this. We're not. This shit is over. Okay. We've got a super chat here from the Iranian Putin. What a funny name. Just said, did I just see a Tinder bot? I don't know, but I've seen them in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. I'll go on in just a second. I just wanted to read out some of your comments, and thank you for the donations. So there's a super chat here from Jay. Thank you very much. We have one here from Steven. Says, the good news: expanding genocide today by Israel brings big benefits to the US, UK, EU, and Israel. Global colonists and war criminals worldwide hate against them for all of history. I mean, I'm going to get to the US and the West in a second, because it's good you bring them up because it relates to Netanyahu's speech the other day. Winston says, no food and medicine, then how do they survive? Yes, exactly. Exactly. I feel like most people who, like, any one of us, if we only watched mainstream media, we would never know about this. They will sometimes like say this word like, oh, the besieged Gaza Strip. Man, most people who are from the UK and the US don't even know what the word besieged means. Okay, they don't even know what a siege is. You know, some of them think like that this is some kind of a joke. It's really not. When we say siege, we mean an actual embargo. Like, there are gunships outside on the Mediterranean Sea, making sure that you cannot go anywhere and no one can come in. Many times people have sent flotillas with aid, with medicine, as you just mentioned, Winston, and they blocked them. They stormed and attacked these ships. Actually, to call them ships is kind of a compliment. These are just like random boats. People had just put food and medicine and things that people in Gaza need. As I said, they're under siege, and just tried to bring them. And it's not like, because remember, this is supposed to be a different country. These are international waters. The Israelis have no right to even be there in the first place. Never mind start stopping ships, right? So they're going in Palestinian water. They're blocking people from bringing in aid, and locking them up and treating them like terrorists. And of course, if you're a foreigner, you can leave usually after they've roughed you up and put you in a cage for 1 or 2 days. But it's disgusting, like it's they just want to make you suffer as much as possible if you're there inside Gaza. The Iranian Putin says, greetings. Okay, I did my service. I see both of the super chats. Thank you. And Baluji the Beluga says, just as many Israelis have more than one citizenship, all Gazans and Palestinians should be granted a homeland in the U.S. and permanent U.S. citizenship. I mean, the thing is that the Israelis, they say that they want, a homeland because of what happened in World War II and so on. The thing is that if they wanted a homeland, they should have taken it from the Germans, okay? The Germans and the French, by the way, the French did this too. They put Jews, you had French police like rounding up, helping the Gestapo round up other Frenchmen just because they're Jewish and putting them in trains and sending them to camps. So, my point is that they should have given them land from France and from Germany. What the hell, what the hell does Palestine have to do with this? it's not about that, right? About the Holocaust, because even before World War I and World War II, you had people emigrating in waves from Europe, from Russia, from Eastern Europe, to what is today Ukraine or Poland or Russia, and going to Palestine just for the purpose of creating a state. And keep in mind, there was no problem back then, really, because I mean, you still had these Zionist militia groups who are now the Israeli army, right? They merged and changed their names many times, and they were actually, Haganah and Hashomir and all these and the Stern Gang. They were actually considered terrorist groups in the UK. So when World War II ended, the biggest terrorist threat in the UK. Who do you think that was? It was these Israeli Zionist groups who were trying to, take Palestine away from the British Empire. Not because they're anti-colonial, on the contrary, because they just want it to be their colony, right? So anyone who's in their way, whether it's other Jews who are against Zionism or against having an Israeli state, or it's Arabs or Palestinians or British officers, they just kill them, right? So I'm not going to do a whole presentation on that, because you will find it. I've already done it on the channel many times. So just look up King David Hotel bombing or the USS Liberty, but that's a different topic. I think I did them in parts, so you'll find it in the channel. But yeah, I mean, I was just thinking of that, because if it's really about having safe land, they should just gotten reparations from those countries. But it's not about that. It's a colonial project. So Stephen Hayes says Lindsey Graham logic: bombing Iran is to world nuclear annihilation, like putting Worcestershire sauce on a steak just before putting it on 100,000 degree Fahrenheit grill. I really I had to begin with Lindsey Graham just because he's so funny. But the thing is that he wants to destroy Iran's oil oil production sites. Iran has like tens of millions of oil barrels in storage because of assholes like Lindsey Graham, because they've sanctioned Iran, so Iran can't get rid of the oil and sell it. But don't worry, that's changing. China, for example, don't buy oil from Iran. They exchange oil for infrastructure. So problem solved. But in any case, let me go back to what's happening. And I see we've actually got many more donations now. So thank you, the church. Thank you, Larry Kane. Thank you, Vocal Aggression. Sean says, why are you so anti-colonialist? What atrocity or atrocities made that such an important issue to you? I'm British. I know my history. That's it. That's the answer. Steven says, Russia and China can put an end to this nonsense by gifting 20 nuclear arms on mobile delivery missile launchers to neighbors. Israel is one missile and one done country, and that does not... Hold on. The thing is, look, Israel has a nuclear site in Dimona, okay? So they had a big scare like 2 years ago because there was... the Israelis were bombing Syria, and Syria has these S-200 surface-to-air missile systems, which are these old Soviet ones from the Cold War, right? Russia has tried giving Syria S-300s, not many, but a couple of units, and I think what happened is that the Israelis tried destroying them or something like that. It doesn't matter. You don't actually need them, because the S-200s are more than enough. And one of these missiles was errant. It was an errant missile, so it was chasing one of the Israeli jets back across the Golan Heights, and then it landed somewhere near Dimona, which is the nuclear Israeli nuclear site. And everybody knows that they've been developing and building nuclear weapons in Dimona, and they have them in other places now since decades, right? So it was like 30 kilometers away, which is quite a distance, but it's much too close for comfort. And so the Israelis got scared shitless. And the reason is that you only need like one rocket, as you kind of just mentioned, and it could be a missile, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be a nuclear armed. It could just be a surface-to-air missile or another guided missile. to hit the nuclear site, and you could cause a Chernobyl, you know. But obviously that would be bad for the whole region, so I don't think this is a viable strategy for anyone. And it's not necessary to have nuclear weapons because the Israelis have nuclear weapons. Did that help them 2 days ago? No. You know, you can beat back a nuclear armed power without nuclear weapons. Whether you're the Vietnamese in, you know, against the Americans, or you're the Taliban against the Americans, or actually even the Mujahideen against the Soviets, right? You don't need nuclear weapons. You just need to have good guerrilla warfare and tactics. Speaking of which, let me get to that. So I'm gonna tell you what happened today, because this is a big escalation, there's one more thing I have to deal with. There's one myth I have to deal with first. Okay, so let's explore that. So one of these big myths you're hearing now about what's happening in Palestine is that the Hamas fighters went and attacked a music festival because they're just evil, you know, by their nature, and they even raped people and all these things, right? And you had a couple of these articles appearing in the Telegraph and so on. Okay, so first of all, there's no proof that anybody was raped. There is no proof. I'm a journalist. I need to see proof before I can go and say something like that. There is no proof. And this reminds me of, Assad is using chemical weapons, or, you know, the Iraqis are killing babies in incubators. There's no proof for this claim. The music festival that was happening just outside Gaza, I just want you to think about that. The Israelis are saying Hamas attacked a music festival, right? They just, you know, they're so brutal. They went and attacked the music festival. Why are the Israelis hosting a music festival outside a ghetto? I'm going to show you again a map of Gaza. This is Gaza. Why are the Israelis having fun and partying outside a ghetto where they have shoved 2.1 million people inside, and just literally today cut off their water, cut off their electricity, cut off the fuel, making sure that the Israelis get to pick and choose what comes in. Oh yeah, this medicine can go in. No, you can't have cement. You know, what is that? Why are they hosting a festival outside? When I hear that makes the Israelis look worse than it does Hamas. Once again, Hamas did not go into a different country. This is their country. The fact that they are partying outside or having a barbecue, or, you know, they have military bases outside and there are soldiers on patrol, these things are irrelevant. You are a colonizer on somebody else's land. You have locked 2 million people inside of a cage, and now you're angry that they are fighting back. How can you make yourself look like the victim after you do this for decades to the Palestinians? And if it's not Gaza, it's the West Bank. It's Jerusalem. You know, what kind of nonsense is this? Yes, it's very sad that people are killed. No one wanted this. The Israelis are the ones who came from Europe, came to Palestine, made a state, you know, on other people's land, stole a chunk of Syria, stole all of Palestine. Palestinians have no state. They live in refugee camps in their own country. They live in a ghetto, you know, in the Gaza Strip. They can't even leave by sea. They can't leave by land. And then the Israelis want you to think that they're the victims. The Israelis are the victims. No, they're not. And I will remind you of something. During the Troubles, the IRA would go and target pubs where you had British soldiers who were off duty. In Israel, everyone, men and women, have to do military service. Well, you call it service. I call it colonialism. Men and women. Over the years, now less and less of them do it. They try to dodge the draft, right? They try to get out of it. It doesn't matter. If it's not them, it's their father who was, you know, in the 67 war or the 73 war. And even if the entire family hasn't done it, are you not living on somebody else's land? Are you not eating their food and drinking their water? While at the same time, literally next door, you're preventing them from having electricity and having fuel. How dare you? How dare you? You could easily leave and go home and this whole issue would be resolved. No, they want to stay. Look, man, if you are so brainwashed that you would go and risk your own life by living on somebody else's land because you think you're the chosen people, I don't know what to tell you. You saw in the videos in the airport of people fleeing, the Israelis running like cowards because they're not willing to die. They have 2 passports. Actually, with 1 passport, they could leave, right? Palestinians got 0. They can't leave anywhere. What a luxury to be able to flee. What a luxury. Where do Palestinians go? Netanyahu was saying that the Palestinians should go. Go where, man? Go where? They can't go anywhere because you've got gunboats in the sea and you've got checkpoints all around it. Where are they supposed to go? And by the way, just because you tell people to evacuate, 2 million people to evacuate into the sea, I don't know what he means. That doesn't absolve you of what you're about to do. This guy knows what he's about to do. And I showed you the videos. They're bombing Gaza the whole day. That's what Israelis do best. They bully. They bully. They drop the bombs from F-16s on people who don't have anti-aircraft or surface-to-air missiles. They're bullies. And the bully got socked in the jaw, and now they're complaining. I'm sorry, but the Israeli defense minister, when he says, this is a terrorist. Look at the Israeli defense minister. I'm going to play the clip again. This is terrorism.
We are imposing a complete siege on Gaza. There will be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything will be closed. We are fighting against human animals and we are acting accordingly.
He didn't say a siege on Hamas. He said on Gaza, the whole place. Okay. Well, now I think you know why people, they've had enough. This is not the first time. And by the way, this didn't start today. There's been a siege since 2007, right? Where they make sure Palestinians don't have enough food and they cut off their water and electricity all the time. If you want to make this about a stupid festival, in 2021, no one attacked the festival. In 2019, in 2014, in 2009, no one attacked the festival. Yeah, this is not about a festival. They're making this about a festival to distract you from the humiliation that Israel has been humiliated, has been proven to be, nothing but a paper tiger. It's come down like a house of cards. That all this security that they invested in building a fence so they could put people in a ghetto is pathetic. It couldn't hold up. They had no clue what to do. Netanyahu was hiding for hours. Hiding. Didn't even put out a statement. And to distract you from the fact this is a colonial issue. Look, when people in Vietnam attack, U.S. soldiers in a bar, no one goes and starts saying, "Oh, well, they were in a bar. They were just listening to some live music." They say, "Hey, fuck you, go home, Yankee." That's what they say. Okay, and when the IRA go and blow up a pub full of British soldiers, which is very sad, but we shouldn't have been shouldn't still be in Northern Ireland. That's not our country. Now, this thing about, so like I said, not only is this rape claim ridiculous, and by the way, do you remember they tried the same thing with Gaddafi? They said Gaddafi was giving his soldiers Viagra pills so they could rape people. They come up with the wildest crap, Here, I want to show you something. This is from 2 days ago, okay? This is one of the Hamas fighters going inside the house, and he's quoting. So I'm not Muslim, so I don't know the exact verse, but I know which one he's referring to. I just don't know by heart. This is one that says, during a time of war, you should never touch the women. You should leave them in peace and protect them. And he's quoting it and showing you how they're not touching the Israeli women and they're leaving them in peace and protecting them. Look.
بدخول أراضينا المحتلة التي دنسها العدو برجسه ودنسه، لكن عندما دخلنا دسنا رؤوسهم بأقدامنا الشريفة، أقدام المجاهدين اليوم. هذا اليوم الذي كنا ننتظره بفارغ الصبر منذ سنوات، كنا في شوق شديد إلى لقيا هذا اليوم المبارك، والله عز وجل أكرمنا في هذا اليوم المبارك أن دسنا رؤوسهم بأقدامنا وهجرنا جماجمهم بطلقاتهم. هذا المشهد اليوم هو وصية رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لنا، نحن المسلمون المجاهدون، ألا نقتل امرأة ولا طفلا ولا شيخا ولا عابدا في صومعته. نفذنا اليوم وصية رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. قتلنا المحاربين وأبقينا النساء والأطفال.
Right. So he's saying this is what the Prophet, peace be upon him, commanded us, that, you know, we protect the women and protect the children and we leave them alone and so on. You know, and let me just spell this. Let me put this in another way. The last thing on these guys' minds right now is to go in and damage the success of what they have just achieved by, you know, by giving the mainstream media some story like, oh, they're mass raping festival goers. What is this crap? Dude, they have achieved a massive intelligence and military victory here. Period. That's it. And once again, the fact that there's a festival nearby is an indictment of the Israelis. How, you know, they're living like in another universe. You know, they're living in another dimension. They're so carefree. They could not give a shit less that there's a ghetto right next door where people are suffering like crazy, like you wouldn't believe. Right? That's what it is. That's the truth. It makes the Israelis look bad. And no one else. Here, let me play you this. You know, and by the way, I just clicked on this clip again. If you're worried about women and children, you can worry about the ones in Gaza. You know, Netanyahu and CNN and you know, the BBC. They're not gonna print too many stories about these women because they don't matter. You know. Here, let me show you. Let me show you a very brave woman. This is Clare. She's Clare Daly. She's an MEP. She's a member of the European Parliament from Ireland. Listen to her speak.
150,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed or injured in Gaza and the West Bank since 2008. 33,000 of those were children. The EU stands by and watches this happen and calls Israel our friend. We construct houses and schools in the West Bank. The Israelis come and destroy them. We cannot consider ourselves a union of values and continue to call Israel our friend. We need to have this conversation, but in light of the time constraints that we are now already under, and the positive remarks by some of the other groups that they will facilitate a full and necessary debate on this in June, I'll withdraw it on that. 150.
Yeah. I mean, this is really, I just look at statements like this from Macron saying we stand shoulder to shoulder with the Israeli people. What is this? Why do you stand shoulder to shoulder with them? Why? Please explain one good thing about Israel. Just one. What is so brilliant about their behavior? You like ghettos? Well, I can understand, because in France and Germany, like I said, they rounded up Jews and put them in camps and ghettos. But that's you know, again, I find it so funny with the French and Germans. They're either like killing Jews or just like, you know, worshipping Zionism. They just can't like pick a balanced position. They have to go all out one way or the other. What is this? There's nothing admirable about the Israelis. They're not underdogs. They are not at a disadvantage. You know, they're not an oppressed party or victims of anything. Even Haaretz, which is the Israeli newspaper, the you know, the paper of record, it's considered by the Israelis, Haaretz. Even they are printing on the front page this morning, blaming Netanyahu for what just happened. Now, the Israelis, of course, they have a different angle, because for them, it's like, we still want to stay on Palestinian land, but we just want someone who's a little less fascist than Netanyahu. But nevertheless, you know, this is a very, very simple issue to understand. You know, when you take other people's land, they get pissed off. And when you put them in ghettos next to you, and you treat them like you know, subhuman, they get pissed off. You know, again, it's very, very simple to understand. You don't need to complicate it any further. It's a colonial issue, period. That's it. That's it. I'll add another point that I just remembered. You know, after World War II, they had these massive claims that the Soviets, you know, the Red Army, had raped their way all the way to Berlin. Look, first of all, you need to understand the position in the West after World War II, and actually even before World War II was finished. There were already plans in the UK and the US, already plans being drawn up for, you know, a very protracted and long war. Now, you know, we didn't know whether that's going to be a Cold War or a hot war, but it became very clear that actually the next enemy after the Nazis is going to be the Soviets. I don't know why, because they did us a, you know, very actually we did them a very big disservice by thinking like this, and they are the ones who liberated the concentration camps, and they are the ones who documented, made sure that what was happening in Auschwitz was documented. They're the ones who were first in Berlin. So, you know, they lost more people than anyone in World War II. And then the thing is that even if, let's say with Hamas, this story that, oh, they were raping people in the festival was true, even if it's true, and it's not true, you cannot compare that to what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians since how many years now? Since 75 years. The irony is that there are confirmed stories, there are actual stories of men, women, children being raped by Israelis. These are Palestinians. There is an interview of an Israeli soldier, right? A Zionist soldier, laughing about when he was fighting against the you know, basically when they were committing the massacres in 1948 and taking the land from the Palestinians. He's laughing about raping a 16-year-old. So, you know, I didn't see anyone in the Telegraph think to bring that up. This is the guy himself saying this. It's not me. This guy is literally laughing about it on camera. He could not give a shit. You know why? Because the Israelis think they're unaccountable. You know, that they are you know, they're infallible, that they cannot be held to account, and they're above the law and above everybody. And they, you know, they even believe this crap, like, oh, we are God's chosen people. Yeah, I can really do without the supremacist crap, you know. I guess that's what you have to believe to build a colony like this. I don't know. But I'll show you the clip of this Israeli. And he's not the only case, right? Like the things that they're happening in the prisons right now, where Palestinian men are even being raped, you know, this by Israeli guards. No, these are verified cases, and no one cares to even mention them. But then as soon as Hamas achieve a tactical victory, they make it seem like, oh, that's the only thing they did. They just went and attacked the festival for the... Here.
בתים יפים, גרים כמו אירופאים, אתה יודע. וגם אנשים היו לבושות ויפה, וזה באמת היה כפר... אחד אנס שם איזה ילדה בת 16, משהו כזה. אתה מבין? אבל זה מכוער מאוד. היה לנו בחור אחד, הוא נפטר, הוא היה פרא אדם. הוא לקח פשוט מאוד, ורצח אותם בתוך המכלאות.
Speaking of cages, there's another myth that came up on social media. There was a video of children put in cages, and the Israelis were trying to say that that Hamas took Israeli children and put them in cages. Complete cooked up bullshit. Complete nonsense. Just, you know, it's the other way around. There's a video of the Israeli police doing some operation now in the last 2 days. And, you know, behaving like with extreme violence and prejudice and brutality towards the Palestinians, even after they had, like, you know, bound them and you know, arrested them and all these things. And then you had some really trash, disgusting people saying that it's the other way around. It's it's Hamas that are doing this to the Israelis. Like, you know, you pick whatever crime you like. Pick whatever crime you like that the Israelis have done to the Palestinians, and then the Israelis will flip it on its head and say that they are the victims, which is what you're seeing right now. You know, the Israelis, they terrorize the Palestinians with bombs, with sanctions, with embargoes, and then pretend that they are the victims. And then, you know, we're supposed to, like, just believe that and take it at face value and trust the media. No, thank you. No. If the Israelis wanted to say this is one thing, but when the media come and repeat this bullshit, and you know, the EU and all these governments are putting Israeli flags, projecting them onto their monuments, and there's never a Palestinian flag. There's never, enough time for Palestinians to guests to come on, and if they are on, they constantly get interrupted. They're not allowed to speak properly. They're always, it's given the same question. But do you condemn the? No, bitch. I fucking don't. I don't condemn it. Why don't you condemn the Israelis? Why don't you do that for once in your goddamn life? There's nothing wrong with being biased. You should be biased in favor of the truth. And the truth is the Palestinians are being bullied by the Israelis. That's it. That's the truth. Okay, so I want to now I will get to today's events. It's a lot. You see, I've been glued to I'd say the television, but it's it's like 50 devices at once. And so thank you again for the super chats. You guys are very kind. And we've got a donation from AP6912. We have one here from Socialist with Tanky Characteristics. I think I can't see the rest of your name, but I remember you. So, they said that, quote, "No one wants armed struggle. If material conditions reach such a level persistently, this is inevitable. Any Westerner subjected to this would do the same. These aren't barbarians who enjoy this. They're just people who've had enough." Yes, you put it eloquently and concisely and accurately. I think people in the West would reach this level, of wanting to just put this suffering and this bullying to a stop much earlier. If you consider that Palestinians, it's now since 1948 that they've been living with this shit. And Gaza with the siege, that's since 2007, which is already way too long. I mean, people could not stand these conditions for a few weeks. Never mind since 2007, and never mind since 1948. And again, every section of Palestine, because they've carved it up into like actual people. I don't think you guys really understand what I'm talking about until you see it on a map. And when I don't mean just Gaza, I mean like what they call. So after the Oslo Accords, they had these zones. It's not bad enough that they had Gaza over here, and then the West Bank up there, and then Jerusalem here. No, they made it even more like Swiss cheese, right? God, I mean, I get a headache just looking at this. Jesus Christ. So here's the big one, okay? I'll get to the Oslo Accords in a second, just so you understand in general, okay? So if you just want to understand why Palestinians have had enough, this is a map, okay, of Palestinian territory. And you can see how since 1946 till today, how it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It's no longer even connected. So that's Gaza over there. Okay, you see where my cursor is? That's Gaza over there, on the sea, on the Mediterranean Sea. And the thing is that with the Oslo Accords, they carved the West Bank, which is here on the right, into tinier pieces, even tinier pieces. Here, I think you can see this now. Look. Yeah, see where I am? So this is the West Bank. You see how they carved that into tiny pieces? And the Israelis, they can just take your house and turn it into a military base if they feel like it. And I've countless clips of Israeli soldiers talking about this, right? And people who are disgusted with what they had to do, and who then go and they give their testimony essentially for their historical record, so people can always know what took place. Here are let me show you the Oslo Accords. This is nuts. Like, I'm not even talking about Gaza here, right? I'm not even talking about Gaza. So here, you see that? Area A. That's the Palestinians can have that, right? And then Area B. So under Israeli-Palestinian control. What they mean by that is that the Palestinian Authority can be basically can help them run the occupation, right? It's outsourced. And then Area C under Israeli control. So it's like, it's not enough that they put them in two corners and they took Jerusalem. No, let's give you even less land. What kind of a country is that? And on top of it, they don't even have citizenship. They don't have statehood at the UN. So Israel gets to be a UN member and also simultaneously ignore every single UN Security Council resolution that tells it to get the hell out of Syria and Palestine. But Palestine is not a member of the UN because they didn't, they didn't accept to have their land chopped up into pieces and handed over to European settlers. Remember, because the partition plan in 1947, they gave more territory to the Israelis, even though the Israelis are a minority. That's what the Israelis want. They want to control the land, despite the fact that they're a minority. They want to rule over everybody else, because if they made this an actual democracy, right? And even then, you could argue, well, who are you to come here and make a country, even if you call it democratic? What are you doing here, right? But let's say, just for argument's sake, that they did set up a real democracy, where it's not only Jews, and particularly white European Jews who run the place, but everybody gets to have citizenship. All the Palestinians get to have Israeli citizenship. And again, in case you didn't know this, they don't, right? If you thought that Palestinians have Israeli citizenship, man, even if you did, you get treated like shit. This is like multiple layers of occupation, right? It's a rabbit hole, truly. But I just wanted to say that the reason they don't do this is because the Palestinians are a majority. Why do you think? Because it's their country. See, when you put two and two together, really easy to figure this out. The Palestinians are a majority because they are native to this land. They are Levantines. This is their country. And the Israelis cannot make it a democracy, even if they wanted to, which they don't, because then the Palestinians would overrule them, and, that they don't want that, even though it would be democratic, right? But again, I don't see why the Palestinians should compromise, because for 75 years they've been hearing this horse shit about the two-state solution. What two-state solution? Israel has every resource in the world to make it, to implement a two-state solution. Every resource in the world. Everybody says that they want it. The Israelis, if they wanted to, they could certainly make it happen. They don't. The Israelis have the money. They have the more powerful army. They have nuclear weapons. They have political cover in the media. They have the United States and the UK and France protecting them at the UN with their permanent veto power and permanent seats and veto power, which is funny because when you think that Israel is protected by these countries, and even despite that, the UN Security Council unanimously told Israel on multiple issues that it needs to withdraw from the Golan Heights, and it needs to treat the Palestinians fairly. This UN Resolution 242, which says that the 1967 borders should be, or pre-1967 war borders should be re-implemented. The Israelis could not care less. They just ignore everything. They could not care less. So when you look at the situation since 75 years, Palestinians have lost more and more territory. They do not have, they have not attained, they've not acceded to the United Nations or attained any level of statehood. They are maligned and vilified by the Israelis and by the media worldwide, or more importantly in the West. Over time, when they try to, they really try to make an effort to participate in talks and sign diplomatic accords, they get screwed. And actually, after this, so in the beginning of the 2000s, all the Arab countries, the entire Arab League, said that they will support, they will normalize ties with Israel, even though they don't want to, many of them, especially Syria, if the Israelis stop butchering the Palestinians and, they actually help the Palestinians, or how should I put this? They get out of the way and allow the Palestinians to have a statehood. The Israelis said no. So, don't think that the Israelis actually favor diplomacy. They could not care less about that. They are happy that things have turned out this way, because they get to they don't even have to pretend to want a two-state solution anymore. They don't. Even Netanyahu is just like, no. So don't expect the Palestinians to, just shut up and, oh, well, they should just go and try diplomacy. They've tried. They have tried everything. They have literally tried everything. And everyone has tried everything to help them. And the Israelis always make sure that nothing succeeds. And even if they didn't, let's see the Israelis really, they are good faith actors and so on. Okay, well, why are you bombing the crap out of Palestinians and putting them under siege? There's a big difference between not wanting diplomacy and then like besieging people and putting them in a ghetto. Do you understand? There's a huge distance between these two, and the Israelis have gone all the way. They've gone all the way because they're running a colony, and when you have a colony, you have all the characteristics of colonial rule. You have apartheid, you have injustice, you have a minority ruling over a majority, you have expropriation of lands, of resources, you have ghettos. You cannot engage in diplomacy with a colony, okay, or rather with colonizers. And even worse, you cannot expect colonized people to just shut the fuck up and accept all of this and accept how the Israelis treat them and then blame the Palestinians when they react to being put in a ghetto and being denied statehood and being denied human rights. This is insulting. This is really insulting. I don't know what's worse, honestly. I really don't. The Israelis saying this crap or the rest of the world repeating it with them. I don't know what's worse. It's besides, I can reassure you, in a way, the Palestinians don't give a crap. They really don't care. They have had enough. Like, there's nothing to lose at this point. They're not looking for PR, unlike the Israelis. They're not looking to be loved. They are not looking for, to be God's chosen people, right, quote unquote. They just want to survive. They just want to survive. The Israelis, on the other hand, they have everything and more. They could easily go back to their countries, whether it's in Morocco or in Iraq next door or in Ukraine. And remember, most of the political leadership in Israel, most of the elites are not Arab Jews. They're not black Jews from Ethiopia. They're white European Jews, specifically from the Russian Empire or Eastern Europe, Poland, Ukraine, Russia. If you look at the lists of Israeli prime ministers, every single Israeli prime minister, without exception, they're either born in Eastern Europe, or their parents were born in Eastern Europe, or their grandparents. They all came to Palestine, and it was called Palestine, and always has been, with the specific, the express intent of creating a Zionist state. That is it. And when you have a Zionist ethno-state, where, being Jewish puts you above other people, you cannot call this a democracy. You're either everybody's equal or you're not equal. You can't have, one or the other. You can't say that this is the Jewish state, which is also insulting for Jews, because many Jews don't like what the Israelis are doing. They didn't like it at the time Israel was created or before that, right? So, some of the biggest anti-Israel voices are Jews. Right, Miko Peled is one of them, and his grandfather actually helped found Israel. So I can't think of a better example. And his father was a general in the '67 war, and he himself was in the Israeli special forces, and he is one of the loudest anti-Israel voices. Right, so he is very, very clear with his language. He doesn't mince words. He calls it out for what it is, and if you don't want to take my word for it, you can take his. I really I can't think of a more potent example. Like, his grandfather literally helped found Israel. So if he is against it, what does that tell you? You don't have to believe what the Israelis are saying. You don't have to always believe the mainstream media. Guess what? They're wrong sometimes. Actually, a lot of the times, So you cannot also blame the Palestinians for, wanting to free their land. This is a very basic, common principle of any human rights charter. It's in the United Nations Charter. It's in the Geneva Convention that if you are occupied, you can fight to liberate your country in any way you like. The UN General Assembly even underscored this and said this includes armed struggle. That means with weapons, right? No one, no one wanted it to get to this situation. It's the Israelis who came and used weapons. When they did the Nakba in 1948, they wiped out entire villages. They wiped them out. No one went to, Eastern Europe from Palestine and tried to take their homes. It's the other way around, this is very, very clear. This is ethnic cleansing, it's genocide. So no one wanted it to get to this stage. It's the Israelis who've allowed it to get to this stage. And there's nothing wrong with dismantling colonies. No one cries because the British Empire had to collapse, the Americans, it's funny, the Americans, out of all people, should be the ones supporting the whole world to fight colonizers, you would think, right? And it ends up being the opposite. In this case, the United States is like openly supporting Israel and has been for decades. And it's so funny because you see like Republicans like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham complaining about people coming over the border. Dude, what do you think Israelis did? What do you think? How do you think Palestinians feel with people from Europe, from Eastern Europe, coming over their border and then treating them like shit and taking their land? This, you would think that they would be the first ones to jump it, to the front of the queue and start defending the Palestinians. No. It shows you how inconsistent they are. They're just full of hot air. So, okay, so I'll talk now about what happened today in Lebanon. And how that relates to the war, because it is escalating. Make no mistake, it is escalating. Oh God, there was one funny clip I wanted to show you. Okay, I'm sorry. I know I keep saying I'm going to talk about Lebanon, but you have to watch this, please. This is so funny, man. When I saw this clip, I died. I came back and I died again. That's how funny it was. Okay, look at this. This is a German report from Tagesschau, which is one of the mainstream news programs in Germany, and they're interviewing a family, an Israeli family, that has had their home destroyed by Hamas, by rocket fire and so on, okay? And actually, they don't say German family. They say an Israeli family with German roots. With German roots.
Noch immer kommen Verletzte, noch immer gehen die Angriffe aus Gaza weiter. Diese Familie mit deutschen Wurzeln wurde leicht verletzt, der Schock sitzt noch tief.
Yeah, so he's saying this Israeli family with German roots was lightly injured, and the shock of the attack is still resonating loudly with them.
Ja, wir hatten einen Raketeneinschlag bei uns im Haus.
What?
Unsere Wohnung ist halt verwüstet, viele Splitter, auch Glassplitter.
Jesus, she speaks perfect German for someone with German roots. German roots.
Raketensplitter, alle Fahrzeuge sind verbrannt und ein ganze Haus voller Rauch.
Es ist
So, I don't know what to say. I kind of love them for just proving my point. There's no such thing as an Israeli family. You have Germans pretending to be from Palestine. That's what it is, okay? Dude, when people in the United States say they have German roots, they can't speak German. None of them can speak German. Like, you would have to search the entire United States to find a few handful of them who can actually speak German fluently. This is a German family that is living on stolen land in Palestine. And do you see again the colonial factor here? It's the people. They're colonizers. When you go from your country, you leave your country and you go to somebody else's land, like thousands of kilometers away, and you insist on living there, even when your house gets destroyed by rocket fire. You're a colonizer. You're a colonizer. And earlier this year, you had a woman and her two daughters, Israelis, right, who were killed in the West Bank. And I'm reading the article, and then I see, apparently they're British, and they moved from London this year to the West Bank. Okay, so they're English. They're English. That's it. And the West Bank, I love that even more because the West Bank is just like, it's illegal settlements. Like under international law, they have no right to even live there. It's not even quote unquote Israel. It's just Palestine. It's the Israelis keep building more and more settlements there, and even even on mainstream media, they have to say that, well, they're illegal because the whole UN Security Council said they're illegal. Even the Americans said they're illegal. No one debates this, you know, since the Israelis don't care, of course, because they're above the law. But once again, I just want you to think about how like depraved it is that you would move from London all the way to Palestine, knowing full well that people are fuming. They're fuming because you are living on their land, and some of them will kill you because they've like had it up to here and up there as well. Like it's gone. It's out the fucking ceiling. That's how much they've had it up to here. And you still go there. Like you insist on going there. Like screw you. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. You know, the funny thing is many people think that, you know, many people think that, oh, it's so great to go, like, you know, they can't wait to go live in England and they want to emigrate to the UK and so on. And yes, of course, the you know, England is lovely, although I don't know how you would afford rent in London. But my point is that many people want to go live in London, and you specifically choose to leave London and then go live in Palestine and get your family killed. You know, you and your children get killed because of that, because you want to colonize somebody else's land. Like, the determination of this is unbelievable. This is what you call, you know, religious extremism, right? Like when you think that you are literally God's chosen people, that God gave you this land because it says so in the Bible, apparently, you know, and the Israeli ambassador even to the UN even brings the Bible with him sometimes, thinking that it's a contract or something. You know, I'm not joking. Like he would actually do this. I think he got replaced after when Bennett took power, right? So in any case, he would like go there like a crackhead. He's just like holding up the Bible in the UN General Assembly like some weirdo. What is wrong with you, you know? And it's funny because the Israelis cherry pick what's in the Bible, you know, like Moses went and got the 10 Commandments and comes down and gets so angry because nobody listens. And it literally says, thou shalt not kill. What do the Israelis do? They just kill. You know, they kill the Palestinians, don't even think about it. So, you know, they like to cherry pick what's in the Bible. In any case, I just wanted to show you this small clip because it's so funny how they're saying this family has German roots, and then she's speaking in fluent German. There are no subtitles, no captions, nothing. I can tell that she's fluent. You know, she's like, this is someone.
Diese Familie mit,
you know, at best, her parents came to Israel. But I think that this is a woman who grew up in Germany and moved to Israel or to Palestine, to occupied Palestine. I am 99.99999% certain of that. She's fluent in German. She's German. So, you know, just shows you how ridiculous this is. And then you remember in Sheikh Jarrah in East Jerusalem, this neighborhood that they've been trying to evict of all Palestinians, right? And have Jewish settlers move into their homes. Like, this is not something that finished. They're still doing this now, you know, in the Israeli Supreme Court. It's like, it's out there in the open. We want you to leave, and we want a Jewish settler to come live instead. There was this American, this fat American, what was his name again? Jacob or something. And he turned into a meme because of how ridiculous, you know, he looks, and what especially what he's saying, where he's like, if I don't steal it, somebody else will. Okay, hold on, let me get it. Yeah. Sorry guys, there we go.
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? What are you yelling at me? I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
But
it's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed to steal it, يا عمي.
You guys can tell this guy's an American. He's an American, and he's you know, if I don't steal it, somebody else will. He is technically right. Another Jewish settler, or, you know, European American, Australian, I don't know, will come and take it. He is technically right. Oh man, it just barrel of laughs, really. Okay, now I'll finally talk about Lebanon. Okay, so let's talk about Hezbollah. Let's talk about the escalation of this war with Palestine, with Hamas. So again, the operation is called Al-Aqsa Flood, and it was initiated by Hamas 2 days ago, and they this was a massive win, not just a PR win, but an intelligence victory, a military victory, and really humiliated the Israelis. And so the Israelis have been threatening to launch a ground invasion against Gaza, which they've done several times in the last decades. And of course, this usually results in a protracted war, and many hundreds, if not thousands, of people are killed. And it's always the bulk of them are always Palestinian and civilians. So I want to show you what happened, because Hezbollah, who are here, let me get the map for you, okay? Because I want you to understand where Israel sits between this, okay? So Israel invaded Lebanon several times, okay? And one of the resistance movements that was created is Hezbollah, which means God's party. And it's made up of Lebanese, okay? And Hezbollah is mainly based in South Lebanon. So, South Lebanon, the Baqa Valley, this is their turf. It's their turf. And Israel, every time they would go there, they would get their asses kicked. And as a matter of fact, Israel would still be in Lebanon right now if it weren't for Hezbollah. Hezbollah kicked them out in the year 2000. And then Israel invaded again in 2006 for the third, fourth time. I'm losing count. They got humiliated. And so I need you to understand something. In 2006, this was so humiliating for Israel. They never dared to bomb or escalate or do anything against Lebanon since then. Not once did an Israeli jet go and bomb Lebanon after that, or bomb Beirut. Not once since 2006 to this day. So that war, which lasted 33 days from July to August 2006, was really humiliating. It was the most humiliating until 2 days ago. This war now with Hamas is so much more humiliating. It makes 2006 look like a joke. It looks like a joke, because that was on Lebanon's turf. I mean, again, if we're being real, all of this is Syria. Now I pissed off both the Lebanese and the Israelis. So, I mean, this was Syria until the French and the British carved it up with Sykes-Picot in 1916. So, anyway, my point here is just that Hezbollah, despite it being in Lebanon, stands with Hamas, right? And I was explaining to you how funny this is now, because they are blaming they're blaming Iran for what Hezbollah is doing, despite the fact that they usually tell you Sunni and Shia Muslims don't get along with each other, which is complete bullshit. This was propaganda that came out after the Americans invaded Iraq, and then they provoked and they fanned these flames and made sure that you had a secular conflict, which is what people, European colonizers and in this case American, do anytime they go anywhere. They will make sure that if you have people of different ethnic backgrounds or religious backgrounds who live amongst each other, that they're going to fight with each other, so that you divide and conquer. In any case, why is Hezbollah standing with Hamas if Hamas is Sunni and Hezbollah is Shia? How does that make sense? It makes sense because in the last couple of years, Israel has become weakened through the growth of these, resistance movements. Okay, so Iran, no one here can disagree. Even in the United States, no one, in the Pentagon would disagree that Iran has become a much stronger country in the last decades. As a matter of fact, its defense program is astonishingly good and advanced, right? Like they are so scared of Iran, they keep saying, oh, nuclear weapons and nuclear weapons. I mean, there are no nuclear weapons, but nevertheless, it just indicates to you how advanced the ballistic missile program is and so on. Hezbollah, after 2006, not only was politically and figuratively stronger, but their weaponry is what shocked the Israelis the most, because Iran had supplied them with all sorts of ordnances and weapons, and they even took out an Israeli ship. Keep in mind, Lebanon has no navy, and they took out an Israeli ship. It didn't sink, but it was out of service. It's humiliating. And so now Hezbollah is even stronger than in 2006, even stronger. Hamas, which the Israelis have tried to besiege and condemn all over the world as the world over as terrorists, and have them blacklisted in every country and literally embargo them, is stronger. And they literally just proved that. Have I not been sitting here for years and telling you that all these resistance groups have become stronger? Lo and behold, you see the proof. This war is proof of that. Israel, which is this big, powerful, army that gets billions from the United States, like a joke, came down like a house of cards. So Hezbollah was firing a couple of shells, mortar shells at the Israelis to test the waters. This is again. I'm trying to pull up the map here. Just give me a second so you guys can see. Yeah, so okay. There, you guys can see that? Okay, so the Golan Heights are part of Syria. Israel illegally occupies those and has had them since '67. Now, Sheba farms are kind of like they're considered to be part of Lebanon. Okay, and so my point here is just that the Israelis, they have to worry about Hamas from the south, Syria to the east, and Lebanon, or rather Hezbollah, to the north. Okay, so they have really, they've created a country, supposedly it's more of a colony, surrounded by people that they've made sure to anger, and make sure to take their land, of course. What else could they be except angry? Now, what happened is that the Lebanese Hezbollah fired a couple of mortar shells, and nothing happened. But today, what happened today is that in the morning you had 4 fighters from Palestinian Islamic Jihad. So again, Palestinian Islamic Jihad is a different resistance group. Its headquarters are in Damascus, in Syria, and some of their fighters went across the fence. Again, it's not a border; it's a fence between Lebanon and the Israelis. Okay, so not Hezbollah. This is Hezbollah turf, but it's not Hezbollah. It's PIJ. They went across, okay, and the Israelis, 6 of them were wounded, right, and 2 of them were killed. So the Israelis thought that it's Hezbollah, and what they did is they went and fired at Hezbollah positions. There, just to show you, okay? So, yeah, there's Syria, okay, and now South Lebanon. All of this is Hezbollah turf, okay? So Israel fired at Hezbollah, thinking that they're the ones who came across the fence, and killed 3 of them. And then Hezbollah fired at Israeli army barracks, and this is going to go out through the night. It's going to go on through the night and into the morning, and I think tomorrow it's going to be even hotter. Hezbollah now, they have every reason in the world to retaliate because they did not go over the fence. And, obviously we're being cheeky here because yeah, Hezbollah know that PIJ are in their, on their turf, and they allowed them to do this. But they're not the ones who sent their fighters over there. And when you kill Hezbollah fighters, you are going to get a response one day, one way or another, and whether it's tomorrow or later down the line. So there are some photos that were published of the fighters. Here, let me pull this up. These are, so Hezbollah announced their names, and these are the guys who were martyred. Okay, see, this is something important. Why am I showing you this? Because you can tell in the future when the Israelis claim, oh, we bombed Syria and we killed 5 Hezbollah fighters. Okay, well, is Hezbollah, responding to that in any way, politically, militarily? Did Hezbollah announce their names? Show their photographs? If the answer is no, then Israel is bullshitting. And Israel bullshits a lot, right? This is just an excuse that they use to go and do whatever they want in Syria, which is just weaken infrastructure. Same thing goes, by the way, for anyone involved, whether it's the Syrian army, whether it's Iran and their army or advisors in Syria, or whether we're talking about PIJ. These countries and groups always say when their fighters have been martyred, they're proud of them because they fell in battle. Here's their photo, here's their name, and pray for them. So, but the Israelis, they often claim that they killed fighters, and it's not true. Okay, so no one compelled Hezbollah today to say that their fighters have been killed. Now, the thing is that when it comes to why this escalation is happening now, you have to think, well, Hamas are not in South Lebanon. Hamas are in Gaza, right? That's quite a distance. Again, I'm going to pull up. I'm trying to speak to you and look for a decent map at the same bloody time, and it's driving me nuts. So I'm going to just pull up Google Maps and navigate myself here without any legend. So you'll forgive me. Okay. Yeah. So look, I'm going to go over here. Right. So here's the Gaza Strip down there, right? Hamas is over here. Hamas is not up here in South Lebanon. Sorry, that's Beirut. I went to, there. So, what is going on here? Are the Israelis trying to escalate? This is one possibility, yes. Why would the Israelis want to escalate? Because the Israelis have been humiliated and they don't know how to put an end to what's happening right now. There are still Hamas fighters that are inside, quote-unquote, Israel in the settlements. And the Israelis, it's been 2 days now, they cannot get them out. Remember, the bulk of the casualties are Israeli. I've never seen this before, right? So if you think the Israelis are on top of everything because the world stands with them, you are sorely mistaken. We are not talking about Israel of 1967, and we are not talking even about Lebanon of 2006, or rather Hezbollah of 2006. This is a weaker Israel and a much, much stronger Hezbollah, a much, much stronger Hamas, a much stronger Iran, a much stronger PIJ, Syria, and so on, right? And these countries and groups operate as one, not Israel. I'm talking about Syria, Iran, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad. You have also, of course, Lion's Den. You have also the fighters in the West Bank, in Jenin, for example. In the past, these groups were all separate, right? They didn't work together. There was no operational planning together or execution together. Nothing. They sort of have the same goals, not really, not politically, in terms of wanting to run a country like Syria, secular, for example, and Iran is an Islamic republic. That they don't share necessarily the same domestic politics, but when it comes to foreign policy, Iran does not want to see the Palestinians occupied. Syria doesn't want to have its own territory in Palestine occupied, right? So they've learned to work together in ways that Washington and London and Tel Aviv really did not anticipate. This whole operation that happened 2 days ago caught the Israelis with their pants down. The Israelis like to think that they're really tough and smart. They think that, they have Pegasus and they're exporting all this spyware, these cyber weapons, that NSO group and others like them go and market and sell. They think that they've always got, they're always one step ahead of everybody. That's not true. This operation shows you that Hamas, Iran, and let's just say the resistance axis, because that's the correct term to refer to this umbrella group of countries that are working against Israel and the United States in an attempt to free their own land and to decolonize the Middle East. That is the common objective of the resistance axis. It's not even just the Middle East. Venezuela, for example, Cuba, Nicaragua, you could also consider easily to be part of the resistance axis, and they're in Latin America, Central America. So, they also want to decolonize their own land from Uncle Sam, right? So this is very important to understand, that these groups work together now. These countries work together. There's nothing wrong with it. What's wrong with that? You have 50 countries working with Ukraine. Does anyone say anything about that? Or that's really a threat to the world, because they're bringing us closer to nuclear war with Russia. But in this case, this is this is something that has a goal that is noble, to decolonize, to free your country. The whole world, every corner of the world underwent this process after 1945, so they say, but you're really only seeing it today. In Niger, that's decolonization, what happened now these last months. Right now in Palestine, this is decolonization, right? Not Oslo Accords, not this bull crap. No, it's this. So until Israel leaves Syria, leaves Palestine, leaves Lebanon, it's not going to be decolonized, right? It just won't be. Until the Americans leave Syria and leave Iraq, it won't be decolonized. So right now, the escalation, Israel might be doing that to get the Americans to come and help them, because the United States, it's not because the United States has any weapons that are going to help the Israelis. Where's the proof? Well, the proof is that the United States already gives Israel all the weapons it wants. And look what happened 2 days ago. Look what is happening right now. But diplomatically, the United States can, has more headroom. Syria, for example, despite being occupied by the United States and being hurt by the United States, is still going to be more willing, just as an example, to negotiate or to reach some sort of settlement with the United States than with Israel, right? Because many of these countries in the Middle East, and for good reason, do not recognize Israel as a country. Why should they? This is Israel is a country that is, made up of European settlers on their land. Why should they recognize that? Why should they negotiate with them? Why should they, engage in diplomatic talks? They can, so Israel does not have that ability. Hamas, for example, can, they can be talked to by the Israelis or given messages through Egypt or through Qatar. Qatar and Egypt, they can usually act as mediators. So there is, you might be thinking, well, maybe the Israelis want Hezbollah to escalate, and that's why they killed Hezbollah fighters, so actually it's Israel who would be escalating just to get the West to come and save them. That's one possibility. The other possibility, Hezbollah is trying to stretch Israeli forces thin. Again, I'll pull up the map. Right now, the Israelis are calling up tanks and troops and resources down here to the front or to the fence with Gaza. And, they are not thinking about, South Lebanon. So Hezbollah, by lobbing a few mortars yesterday, and by allowing PIJ to go in, they test the waters. So they get to see whether the Israelis, what's their reaction time? Do they look ready? What kind of resources do they have? Are they willing to sacrifice some of them for those that are headed to the Gaza Strip and bring them up here? How fast can they bring them up here? What are their troop numbers? These are very, very important questions. And so that could be one explanation. Because I really doubt that Hezbollah wants to, start a war with the Israelis. No, if they, first of all, without even doing that, you will have people in Lebanon. Not most of them, but always some, particularly those who actually collaborated with Israel during the many wars, who will say, oh, look, Hezbollah is drawing us into a war and so on. So Hezbollah is not going to give them any, ammunition, figuratively speaking, or try to actually, plunge Lebanon into a war. No. Hezbollah is going to try and support the Palestinians without actually escalating the situation, right? Now that the Israelis have actually killed Hezbollah fighters, this is a different, this is completely different now because, as I told you, it's PIJ who went in. Another thing that you should note, a few months ago in April, we had rocket fire coming from South Lebanon at Israel, which is not common. This is usually something you would see coming out of Gaza, right? Now, you had Syria, you had South Lebanon, so Hezbollah territory, and you had Gaza all firing at Israel at the same time, which is something you have never seen before. And I was telling you that this is not Hezbollah. It's Hezbollah that have allowed PIJ and Hamas to operate to a certain extent in their territory because they have the same goal, which is to decolonize Palestine and, of course, remove the Israeli threat on Lebanon's border and remove the Israelis from Syria's Golan Heights. So you are seeing more and more collaboration between these groups than ever before. This has never happened in the past, okay? And, that's why when, for example, just as a side note, when people are saying, well, Iran, planned what's happening right now with this operation from Hamas, no. I mean, you have to understand that, like I said, Iran is certainly giving them support, and I would not be surprised if they really did help plan it. But the way that they've done this is that you cannot actually know whether Iran was involved, and I don't even see anything wrong with that necessarily. The Israelis are constantly blowing up Iranian nuclear sites inside Iran. They're constantly assassinating Iranian scientists. They got Trump to assassinate Soleimani. Why shouldn't the Iranians retaliate? You cannot assassinate someone like Soleimani and just get away with that. The Israelis know this. Surely they know this. So, this is just a bunch of countries working together, a bunch of groups working together to achieve a common objective. And the Israelis really brought this upon themselves. Once again, Iran did not go to Eastern Europe, and target Netanyahu's family or something. These are settlers that have come from Europe and all over the place, but especially Eastern Europe, to establish a colony and calling it a country, or state. And bully everybody, every single country around them, like has been every country, Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, they've all suffered because of Israel. Yeah, and even Iran, which is all the way over there. Iraq even was bombed by the Israelis. This is. So when we talk about escalation and a ground war, Hezbollah said that if the Israelis go into Gaza with their tanks, they will enter the war. They will fully mobilize. And if that happens, you are going to see something on an unimaginable scale. I really wouldn't be surprised. And I think in that scenario, many people would hope that the Iranians, Syria, all these countries would take advantage to, effectively kick all Israeli settlers out of the Middle East. After all, remember, these are people who have two passports. They have multiple nationalities. They don't come from this area. That doesn't mean you've never had Jews in the Middle East. Of course, you've had Jews in the Middle East. But the Jews in the Middle East and Christians and Muslims have lived there with each other for thousands of years. You never had something like this where one of them is pretending to be superior to everybody else. These are European settlers. That's what it is, and it's bankrolled by the United States. It's created by the UK. So if there's an escalation, this is going to be something that we've never seen before because you have never had all these groups, involved at the same time. The thing is that there doesn't need to be an all-out war, and no one is trying to do that. I told you before that the tactic of the resistance axis is asymmetrical warfare. Iran does not need nuclear weapons. Iran does not need a full-out war. The Israelis by themselves are leaving. You saw that happen just yesterday when this operation began. They just left. The Israeli settlers have easy and ready access to weapons. It is so easy for an Israeli settler to get a weapons permit. So easy. On the contrary, it's even easier now that they've relaxed the laws and even encouraged Israelis to go and get permits, right? And as I told you, in Israel, men and women all have to go and do military service, right? So I know that many of them dodged the draft now, so it's not like, 50 years ago. But nevertheless, this is a country that has a conscript army that militarizes it and trains its citizens, to not only to live and run an occupation, but to fire guns and weapons. And you cannot call them, civilians when they are, as I said, number one, they are settlers who have come from another continent, and number two, they are all given military training and have already access to weapons. I'm sorry, but a woman in Gaza is not the same thing as a female, in Israel that has been in the military or is in the military, knows how to fire, a rifle, and has all sorts of, tactical training and so on. I mean, this is ridiculous to call it a settler in the military a civilian. This is Israeli propaganda. A civilian and a settler are two completely different things. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'm going to play you a video here. This is a great video that I used to knock some sense into Mehdi Hassan's head, because Mehdi Hassan, who, unfortunately over the years has gotten less and less, sees less and less reason over the years. He was saying here that this conflict for me has always been about morality. Morally, you cannot justify the killing of Palestinian civilians, even if you say it's fighting terrorism. But morally, you also cannot justify the killing of Israeli civilians, even if you say you're fighting occupation. Yes, I agree. No one is saying Israeli civilians should be killed. No, literally no one is saying that. No one wants that at all. Because there are no Israeli civilians, and no one wants to kill anyone Israeli. People just want them to go home. That's it. That's really it. So I had a video ready for Mehdi, and it's from the Syrian ambassador to the United Nations, who is really kind of like Lavrov. Okay, you can think of him like Lavrov. He's one of these old school, old guard diplomats. Okay,
not
so
civilian.
Give me a second here. So he's giving a press conference, and then as he's walking away, someone is saying, "Well, what will the Israeli civilians in the Golan Heights do if you take back your own fucking land?"
What happens to the Israeli civilians in Golan when it is regained?
These are not civilians. These people are settlers. Settlers. They are foreigners coming to occupy others' lands. They are not civilians. They are settlers. There is a big difference between civilians and settlers. They must leave, definitely. Thank you.
See, that's somebody who knows how to choose their words carefully and talk to reporters. That the guy who asked it probably thought he's a smartass. Oh, gotcha. No, actually, no. So again, I think this is very important to point out. There's a big difference between a civilian and a settler. Yes? The Palestinians know what happened to the natives in the United States, or in America, I should say, and are not going to allow that shit to happen to them. Okay? If you look at the natives in America, they have zero representation in anything. Have you never had one become president? You never hear of them in politics. They have nothing, no say whatsoever, because that is what happens when you have a colony. So you cannot, and the land. Never mind the land that's been taken, right? This thing with reservations. When I heard reservation, that they call these things reservations, right? When I was reading about this, when I was a boy, I was like, "What do you mean a reservation?" Isn't that something you say about forests usually, or something like that, and or about animals? And then it's like, no, this is what they call the tiny specks of land. Remember, the United States is a goddamn continent, a state continent. The tiny pieces of land that they've given the natives, they call them reservations. Jesus Christ. Don't make any, there's no need to feel sorry for settlers. I really, again, I think, if you're gonna feel sorry for someone, it should be the Palestinians. Like, you know, there's nothing that has happened, you know, to the Israelis that comes close to what the Palestinians have had to experience. Nothing. And it's not a competition, but it's important to say this because they are constantly propagandizing people to think that, well, you know, we are not escalating. No, it's the terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, right? They can't even fucking speak properly. Hezbollah, Jesus Christ. And then, you know, we are the victims, not them. They're just trying to fire rockets at us, you know, because we took their goddamn land and put them in a ghetto. Oh no. Details. Details. Who doesn't love a good ghetto? Details. No. We're not gonna skip the details on my program.
Israeli civilians.
We're not skipping details on my program. And you know, I think Netanyahu is he's done. This man is done. Like, the Israelis were already done with him before. Now they're done. Like, as soon as this war is over, if Israel even exists, they will be done with him. He's gone. He's finished. You know, he already came back from the dead once. You can't do that twice unless you're, I don't know. I really, this guy would be like Machiavelli if he did that. I mean, he certainly is in many aspects, but he's not Teflon, you know. In any case, I expect tomorrow Hezbollah will hit the Israelis back pretty hard for not only to, you know, avenge their martyrs, but also to test the waters and see if the Israelis really are as tough as they say they are. And Hamas results would indicate they certainly are not. The Israelis have been telling tall fibs and tall lies and long lies, and they have you know, overblown their capabilities for a long time. This is the worst thing you can do in a war, is that you get lazy and you underestimate your adversary. Although, again, I think in this case it should be victim in the case of the Israelis, because for them to call the Palestinians who they've colonized adversaries is you know, making it sound like there's some kind of competition here, or, you know, a justified war. For the Palestinians, the Israelis are certainly adversaries, and you know, they're oppressors, yes. But in any case, the Israelis have overestimated themselves and oversold themselves and overblown their capabilities out of proportion. And, you know, they have underestimated the capabilities of Hamas, of Iran, and the entire resistance axis. And they should have learned not to do that after 2006, but they didn't learn. I got to admit, seeing Israeli settlers running home because they're too coward to fight. I mean, they have access to weapons, I was telling you, and they still chose to run. What does that say about them? That tells you the Israelis are not as tough as they say they are. They are not willing to fight to keep Israel. And one day, the heat under the frying pan, right, figuratively speaking, is in this fight with Hamas and with Hezbollah and with the resistance axis is gonna get too hot, and they're gonna want to bail out. Okay, and go back to Europe or Morocco or whatever, Australia. So it's going to get too hot for them. So no one is interested really in a full-blown out war. They just want to make it too hot to bear and that they have to leave. So that's really what it's about. And remember, Hezbollah, you know, after they took back Lebanon, you know, they did not exact revenge on, you know, their Lebanese compatriots who had collaborated with the Israelis, even when they, perhaps some would argue, would have been justified to do so, because, you know, in France, for example, and it's a lot of Frenchmen who did collaborate with the Nazis. Those who fought the Nazis certainly didn't take too kindly to other Frenchmen collaborating with Nazi Germany. All over Europe, when the liberators came out of the woodwork or came along with the landing ships on D-Day, when they finally liberated their countries, they made sure that those who collaborated with Nazi Germany were not forgiven. And so Hezbollah could have easily, punished them, but they did not. And to this day, some of these dirtbags that collaborated with Israel are still in Lebanese politics. So, my point here is that Hezbollah are not vindictive, and they're not looking for a fight or looking for trouble or looking for revenge. They are just there to take back what's theirs and to help people who are oppressed. Lo and behold, this is very, very clear. And maybe CNN want to tell you otherwise. CNN talk a lot of shit, so I wouldn't believe them. In any case, this is escalating, and it's not good for Israel. They do not have the capabilities to handle Hamas. Never mind Hezbollah. Never mind, oh my God, Iran and the whole resistance axis. You are not ready for this. You are not ready, son. You're not ready. Careful, you'll trip over your own shoelaces. Oh man, this is so embarrassing to watch. And when I say, Hamas, I did not mean that Hamas are weak, but Israel thought that Hamas is weak and weaker than Hezbollah and weaker than Iran. And it turns out that they got they got socked in the jaw, and they got sucker punched by Hamas. I'll give you an Arabic version of that. Well, when you translate it literally, it doesn't sound that good, but it's like basically the person that you think is too weak or not capable enough is the one that actually socks you the hardest or punches you the hardest, right? In Arabic, it takes the form of a stone, right? So al-hajar ma bi ya'jabak bi fijjak, and I think that rock, that hajar, turned out to be Hamas. So we'll see how this goes, but it's not going to go well for Israel. And if they start stretching their forces thin, which I think they are, since they sent a couple of units up to the border or the fence with Lebanon, oh man, they are really best described right now, the Israelis, as a bug that has been caught in a spider's web, or if you want, Frodo, right? So the more you try to break out of it and wiggle and move, the more it tightens its grip on you, right? And the more you fall into the spider's web and get tangled. Israel made the mistake. Whether they brought it upon themselves or not is irrelevant at this point. What matters is that Palestinians are the underdogs, and the underdogs are winning. Hate it or love it, underdogs on top. So I've got a lot more things to go through with you guys, but I'm just going to read some of your super chats and your comments. We got a lot of great comments here. This is from Think Before You Type. Says, Albert Einstein called Israel's founders as a bunch of terrorist and criminal organization in his letter to Shepard Ripken during Deir Yassin massacre. Yeah, I think they asked him to become the prime minister, and he said, go to hell. Well, not those exact words, but basically. You have to remember that at the time, even in the UK, there was no... there were no misconceptions or illusions about what Israel is, because this is post World War II. So 48 is the end of the British Mandate, and then the Israelis took over like literally the next day as they were massacring villages one after the other, and then they were also killing British officers and had been for quite some time in Palestine. Like no one. This is so funny, I swear to God, because the Israelis constantly call the Palestinians terrorists for trying to liberate their own land, but it's actually the Israelis who behaved like terrorists and still behave like terrorists. And as I was saying, in post-war Britain, so in after 1945, the number one terrorist threat in Britain, it's Israel. It's Zionist groups trying to form a Zionist state in Palestine. And these people are literally the same. So these groups, these militias that were posting bombs in the mail, they basically invented the letter bomb, okay? That were putting bombs inside London and inside, the the King David Hotel or British Army barracks and so on. These are the exact same groups that became the Israeli army, or as they're called, the Israeli Defense Forces. It's a fact. They don't even hide who they are. Some of them even became prime ministers of Israel. And they could not go to the UK because they would be arrested on terrorism charges. Like, think about that. Think about that. This is what Israel is since day one. They're terrorists. Anybody who gets in their way, they kill them. So it's so funny when I see today, the British Foreign Secretary going to the Israeli embassy like some fucking cuck, you know, like handing over his balls to the Israeli ambassador who's a war criminal bitch. This guy, he should be spanked. I mean, honestly, and slapped, because he's embarrassing the whole country and he speaks for nobody. He's one of these, you know, like arrogant asswipes who went to Eton or something and thinks that, you know, he represents the whole of Britain by standing with Israel. No, the hell you don't. The whole of Britain cannot buy goddamn food or pay for the electricity or heating, you idiot. You know, and he's off like just, you know, worshipping the Israelis. How disrespectful and disgusting. And it's not just him, it's the French. It's the United States as well. It's you know, the Germans. These people have no respect. You know, these governments, they don't represent anyone. And the worst is this bitch. Hold on. Oh man. I'll show you the post from the British Foreign Secretary, who is really I mean, this guy is really something. I mean, I think I've insulted him enough, but let me show you let me show you this. Okay. So this is the head of the, well, you know who heads the EU Commission, right? I was trying to find this bloody post before I started, but there, you know, I'm overloaded. I am overloaded. Here it is. Okay, so do you see that? So it went from Ukraine flag to Israeli flags, right? So again, as I said, they beamed this Israeli flag onto the EU EU Commission building, and she's there and she's saying today Hamas terrorists have, hold on, let me try and do her voice. Today Hamas terrorists have struck at the heart of Israel, capturing and killing innocent women and children. I'm confused because she used to be the German defense minister, and her predecessor like doing that too to Jewish women and children in Germany. But anyway, she says Israel has the right to defend itself today and in the days to come. The European Union stands with Israel. Yeah, all right. No, we don't. We don't stand with Israel. I don't think so. You can go stand alone while you you know, beg them for gas that's stolen from Lebanon. She's really trash. She's a trash person, this Ursula von der Leyen bitch. She really is. You know, if you were not convinced of how trashy she is before, let there be no further discussion. I mean, really, and she's posted this like multiple times because she keeps getting humiliated on Twitter, and she just keeps posting it, you know? No, stop right now. Stop it. Stop. Okay? I'm going to read you the response. This was from Clare. Okay? And I just want, this is such a meticulous, articulated, beautiful, eloquent, and just simply well put response. Okay? So she said, Claire told her, who do you think you are? You are unelected and have no authority to determine European Union foreign policy, which is set by the European Union Council. So not the Commission, right? Europe does not stand with Israel. We stand for peace. You do not speak for us. If you've nothing constructive to say, and you clearly don't, shut up. Claire is the same woman whose speech I showed you earlier, which she gave today in the EU Parliament. Just, you know, excellent. So yeah, this is the kind of garbage from Ursula and from others like Ursula, from Macron, that we're seeing day in and day out. You know, I'm just going to put it this way. Like, if you have to beam a giant flag onto the building and you know, do propaganda the whole time to make people like you and side with you, then you're probably not doing anything good. Okay, you're probably wrong You should just stop. You should just stop. The Palestinians, they don't need to, beam flags onto buildings and brainwash people with propaganda into supporting them, because people know what is right and wrong. They can see what Israel is doing is wrong. Israel is the oppressor. Israel is the colonizer. The Palestinians are living under all the evil mechanisms of colonialism that comes with running a colony, like racism, like apartheid, like poverty, like inequality, not even having a country, or being a member of the United Nations. This is disgusting. It's gone on for too long. So in any case, let me just go back to what you guys were saying. Sorry, I don't know what I just clicked here. Hold on. I don't know. Ramsey says, well, nothing, but thank you, Ramsey. I appreciate it. Let's celebrate their first super on a live stream. Yes, let's. And we also have another one from Todd, says it's from Stephen saying credit to Todd for the Palestinian people have been deprived their liberty and basic health and quality of life for decades, and the USA and EU war crimes collaborators. Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying, and Todd is correct indeed. I'm just checking if there were any other super chats before I continue, and the Crazy Puppet says your German accent is perfect. Well, thank you very much, the Crazy Puppet. Ihre Papiere bitte. So the Crazy Puppet also said Israel found Chinese finger trap and results castration. Wasn't there a Dexter's Lab episode where he gets his finger stuck in one of them with his sister or something? So Steven says settlers in Palestine are European genocidal invaders and supposedly no responsibility for the war crimes they embody. They are equivalent to no sea pioneers settling Eastern Europe in that war. James says sentinel, a soldier or guard whose job is to stand and keep watch. For someone who doesn't speak English as his first language, the Syrian ambassador is a genius. Yeah, I mean, I don't. He said settlers though. I don't know if he said sentinel. But the volume goes up and down. His English is meticulous. He's really, really good. That's one of the reasons why he is so good at the UN, or it used to be, because now he got I think he got promoted to so he's number 2 in the foreign ministry. Okay, so Faisal Magdad is the foreign minister, and he's the deputy foreign minister. And yeah, I mean he's really good, and that's precisely one of the reasons, because he knows how to dunk on the reporters and get one over them. So Sam says, I don't think Syria could get involved because Hayat Tahrir al-Sham would take advantage of it. Also, if Hezbollah got involved, wouldn't Israel bomb Beirut? Yes, they would certainly try. I don't think that they will, if I were them, I would not try that, because I have a distinct feeling that Iran gave them some very nice surface-to-air missile systems. I wouldn't try that. I would not try that. If you were going to do that, you'd have to go all the way around, and ask for permission from other countries to use their airspace. Actually, no, Israel never does that, so never mind. You could just go around, yeah. So, but that one made things exceedingly difficult and annoying. But the Israelis are persistent. Every time they bomb Syria, they just go through Lebanon without even asking for permission. They just Israel asking Lebanon for permission. Yeah, right. Why would they do that anyway? There's no need. Steven says it seemed okay. So you're responding to Mike and EE07 says it seems clear that Israel has a fascist government, and short of nuclear exchange, U.S. politicians are enslaved to them. Why should any country bow to U.S. Israel? Well, I know that many U.S. politicians, not all of them, but a couple dozen of them are dual citizen. They're Israeli and American. So obviously those guys, because they're dual citizens, they're gonna be sympathetic to Israel. The thing is though that Biden, for example, is not an Israeli, but he is nevertheless just as sympathetic to Israel as Obama, as Trump, as George Bush. This is just a U.S. policy or a Western policy, and why? And this shows you that it's not just it's not about being an Israeli citizen or even being Jewish, because some of the most nut job Zionists are actually Christian or supposedly Christian, and the reason that they support Israel is because Israel is like having a base inside of Syria, okay, or let's say now with today's borders, which I don't know why they're kept, but because they're British and French borders. But anyway, today it's like you have an American base or Israel inside of Palestine, inside of Syria, inside of Lebanon, all at the same time, and also with Mediterranean Sea access, and then neighboring, so with a border, sharing a border with Egypt and so on. Yeah, it's a good deal, for a colonial power. Good deal to have a base there. So Ophelia PG says, in case y'all haven't noticed, World War III has already started. Free Palestine, peace now. Abolish NATO, defund all foreign aid, and stand with Palestine. So I'm going to get to that, because I don't know about World War III, but certainly the world is changing, and you just reminded me of what I wanted to say regarding another aspect of this. Mike says, before formulating or tweeting an opinion on X or elsewhere in regard to a country's war, they must know the true history and its culture. Exactly. I sense you're talking about these politicians with advanced knowledge in foreign policy and recent history, or else it's propaganda and people get hurt. Yeah. I mean, this is ignorant as hell what they're writing. The thing is, what you're saying makes perfect sense, and that's why they don't abide by it, because it's too sensible, right? I'm pretty sure that someone like I know that in Britain, the foreign secretary, who is new, he probably doesn't have any clue, because I can see that he's just dumb as hell. Macron, on the other hand, this guy has to know, but he's an asshole, right? So Macron knows that the French committed massacres in Algeria, but he doesn't care. He's not going to apologize. Macron knows what Israel is, and that the Palestinians are occupied, but he doesn't care. He's not going to say anything except we stand with Israel. And then when it comes to the United States with Biden, I don't know if he's dumb or he's just evil, but because he's the U.S. president and this is just what they do, he's going to stand with Israel. So I don't know. It's a mix of both. They're dumb and ignorant. Some of them are just ignorant. Some of them are both dumb and ignorant. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's like you cannot rely on any help. And now the EU, they say they've cut their aid to Gaza, and I mean, yeah, so what? People are going to get punished in Gaza regardless of what happens, because they don't want to, they don't want Palestinians to be free in any way. And if you allow Palestinians to ascertain a certain level, a good standard of living, then it becomes easier for them to resist. It becomes easier for them to assemble and form political groups, militant resistance groups, and so they want to make sure Palestinians have low morale, that they have not enough food to eat, right? Especially in Gaza, that even if you're a fisher, you can't really go out to fish because you have 6 nautical miles and there are Israeli gunboats aimed at you the whole time. And then there's actually no fish left because of overfishing. So, just keep you underfed, low morale, no will to resist. That's what it's about. That's why they put people in ghettos. And also, the thing is that, people who think that, well, because I saw a clip of this on French TV, and you have, I hate this. Every time they say anything bad about Israel, they have to put 15 parentheses in the goddamn sentence and beg like scared chimps or something, oh, no, I'm not condoning Hamas, but what Israel is doing is not good. But I promise I'm not condoning Hamas, and what Israel is doing is not good when it comes to but I promise Israel has a right to exist. Like scared chimps. These people are pussies. They have no spine. They have no backbone. They're cowards, and they should not get involved in politics. If you cannot criticize Israel, if you're too scared to criticize Israel, get off. Just get out of the goddamn way. Let someone with a spine, with a backbone, onto the seat and onto the podium, and let them handle the job. Okay, because you clearly cannot. You cannot say, oh, this is a democracy and I have free speech, but I'm too scared to criticize Israel, or the moderator will shit on me. Or I'll lose my job. Then, well, obviously, in France, out of all countries, right? You know which quote I'm referring to. Look at who you cannot criticize, and you will know who rules over you. Yes. So the thing is that Zionists, whether they're Christian or Jewish, I couldn't care less. They are in charge of European foreign policy, American foreign policy, and it's not just about being a Zionist. It's about making sure the Arabs are down, that they're physically, geographically fractured by carving up the borders, which is what France and the United Kingdom did. And then the UK helped create Israel, stuck it in the middle, and now the United States bankrolls Israel, right? And Israel is what? It's just European colonizers. So it's just physically, geographically fracturing the Arab world, supplying it with as many weapons as possible, giving it all the political and media cover that it needs, even though it's starving people, killing children, killing men, killing women, killing everybody, keeping people in extreme poverty. And by the way, Gaza, half the people there are children. They're under 18. Half the people. So there's 2.1 million people, right? Half of them are children, and the Israeli defense minister, who thinks he's such a big, brave, fucking tough guy, he wouldn't last 2 minutes with a Hamas fighter. He goes on and says, "Oh, no more food or electricity, and we will punish Hamas." I mean, he said it in his broken Hebrew, but nevertheless, he's cutting off their food and electricity, like to 1 million children, and for that, he thinks he's a tough guy and he's punishing Hamas. This is why Hamas do what they do, because the Gazans are going to get punished anyway. This is not the first time. Dude, in 2021, they cut the electricity too. They made sure there's no fuel coming in. Gaza has one power station. One. And it needs fuel to run. The Israelis know this. They've every centimeter studied. Well, not really. I think they kind of showed that they don't. But, again, let's not, get overblow how smart they are, with their galaxy-sized brains. They want you to think that they're infallible, but clearly they're not. In any case, my point is that the Israelis know that Gazans need fuel in order to have electricity, and they are saying no more fuel. So do you see how this is collective punishment? And even if everybody was like 65 years old or 40 years old, does it change anything? I'm not going to change my point, and the underlying principle is the same. It's that it's a war crime, and even if it weren't legally a war crime, it's wrong. You are punishing everybody for what? And that shows you that this is not about punishing Hamas, as if Hamas did anything wrong. Hamas is a resistance group that has a right under the UN Charter and the Geneva Convention to kick your ass and fuck your shit up for taking their land and putting them in a ghetto, period. And number two, even if they were saying that, well, other people are going to get punished. No, they're not even saying this. They're punishing the entire Gaza Strip, period. And the same thing with the bombs. So if you want to give Israel the benefit of the doubt and say, well, they're not using phosphorus, and they are only carrying out targeted strikes, and they do roof knocks, right? Well, they throw a tiny bomb on your building so that everybody leaves before they destroy your house and everything inside it, right? How nice of them that they warn you before fucking your life up. How nice of them. You should bow before the graceful Israelis, the chosen people. How benevolent and graceful of them. What would we do without the Israelis? Look how charitable they are. They give the Palestinians their own fucking water and their own food. How nice of the Israelis. Praise be unto them, God's chosen people, right? Clearly forgot to read the part in the Bible that says, thou shalt not kill. But anyway, so the thing is that the Israelis are punishing Palestinians and then telling you that they should resist because, in other ways. Well, let's look at the other ways. If you criticize Israel, oh, that's anti-Semitism. If you go and protest at the border to get your house back, which was the right to return marches in 2018, 2019, they were shooting people in the kneecaps. They were shooting the Palestinians in their knees and crippling them. So whether you pick up a rifle or you go and protest peacefully or you criticize them, on social media, they go and attack you, right? Whether you're in Palestine or outside, but especially, of course, if you're inside Palestine, they can do whatever they want to you, the Israelis. So, this idea that the Palestinians, well, they just don't know how to resist, and they're not picking the right method, and it's Hamas that is like putting all of them in trouble. This is horse shit. I'm not interested in that. And Israel is slowly losing the propaganda war. Even Amnesty International and all these these NGOs that would never dare to say anything about Israel are slowly changing their stance. It doesn't mean that they're doing they're doing everything right, but it's interesting. It's interesting to observe that the Israelis are now openly being criticized. But the problem is that even when they're carrying out just like carpet bombing of Gaza, and it's no different because Hamas started the operation. But even when they're doing that and they're besieging Gaza even more than they possibly could be, they're still, the European politicians just grovel before them and kiss their asses. So that shows you that they're not going to change. You cannot rely or wait for, the Israelis to just like, finally give you like some land, or for the Americans to give you some land. Palestinians don't need to, what is this idea that they should be given something? It's theirs. It's already theirs. It was just taken from them, and they're taking them back. Yeah, it was taken from them, and they're taking it back. So, period. This is such a colonial mentality that the Western way to do it is different, and your way of doing it is wrong. And you always see this word terrorist thrown around to anybody they don't like, and this is in any topic. It's when it comes to Venezuela, oh, they're terrorists. When it comes to Iran, they're terrorists. When it comes to Iraq, they're terrorists. North Korea are terrorists. This word means absolutely nothing anymore. It is meaningless. They've blown it out of proportion and used it so much it has no meaning. So why should it have any meaning when they talk about Hamas? If you want to talk about terrorism, just look at the Israelis and their behavior. Just look at the European support for this behavior. Look at this ugly, disgusting shit on the building of the European Union. I mean, what am I supposed to say? Like, how can you put this up? People right now are not looking at this favorably, never mind in future generations. They are going to look at this, the Ursula, as some psycho mass murderer for doing this. She could at least get out of the way and just be quiet. And that would be bad enough that she knows what's going on and she chooses to keep quiet. No. She just goes balls to the wall, like, let's put up an Israeli flag. God damn it. Well, there you go. That's the most moral army in the world. I'm just looking over here at my phone, and we actually we got a couple of donations on PayPal. So let me just read them to you, or thank at least who sent them. We have one from Bangash. Thank you very much. We have one from Riza. Says, I'm happy to see that you make programs so energetically and defend the truth, and I wish you success in this way. Thank you very much, Riza, and I appreciate that. And it's angering. I mean, seeing all of this, really. But thank you very much. And Andre as well said, great work. Love watching your shows. Stay safe. YouTube takes too much. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. And I think people told me the same thing, but nevertheless, I'm grateful, and to all of you who are donating, and it's good to see you again. And Lana sent a donation, and also we have one here from Rafi. Says, keep up the good work and laughter louder. Okay, for sure. And we have I think we have someone who signed up on Patreon yesterday. Lucinda, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. It sounds very good. It's a nice name. So again, thank you to all of you who sent donations and support, and for your support for my work. Katerina says, do you think we'll see national liberation for Palestine in our lifetime? Maybe. I'm starting to think, it's looking a bit more hopeful, because if you look at what's happening with BRICS, so this is a point that I wanted to talk about. If you look at what Netanyahu was saying the other day at the United Nations, where he brought this map, and he's saying, oh, the new Middle East, and he draws this line that goes from the UAE through Saudi Arabia, through Jordan, through Israel, or occupied Palestine, and then to Europe. And he announced this as a rival corridor, a rival economic corridor to BRICS, and rather more importantly to the New Silk Road. But he announced it at this time because BRICS had just expanded recently. And, as you know, many of the countries that are in BRICS are also in part of the Belt and Road Initiative. And so it's not just Israel that wants this, it's the United States, of course. And, Saudi Arabia is crucial to this endeavor, okay? But now, with what's happening between Palestine and the Israelis, it becomes very, very difficult for the Saudis to normalize ties with the Israelis at this point, right? So both MBS, so Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, and Netanyahu talked about it at the same time and confirmed that it's in the works. And now it's interesting because I'm not saying it's impossible that Saudi Arabia does it now, but because the whole Arab world is, is shocked by what's happening to Gaza. And actually, I should say the whole world, because everyone except European politicians and American politicians knows what the Israelis are doing. It becomes very, very hard because they would become very critical of Saudi Arabia, especially in the Arab world, if MBS would normalize ties with with Israel right now. And I think the Israelis have a lot on their plate, being taught a lesson and dressed down by Hamas, and also at the same time wondering whether Hezbollah is going to, respond to Israel's killing of 3 of their fighters. So my point is just that the normalization is on hold. Meanwhile, if you look at the normalization of ties between Iran and Saudi Arabia, Yemen and Saudi Arabia, Syria and Saudi Arabia, that has not budged. It's rock solid. Why should it, after all? So this is very interesting. And the Saudis are really kind of in it just to see, what works out. If BRICS and New Silk Road works out, then good for them. And if it doesn't, for whatever reason, and they make this new Middle East, as Netanyahu calls it, he should go back to Europe, work, then also good for them. So the Saudis are really just looking out for their own self-interest, and that's it. That shows you, by the way, that they don't give a crap about the Palestinians. And MBS was saying in the interview with Fox that he's only going to do this, he will only normalize ties with the Israelis as long as the Israelis respect the Palestinians and give them what's theirs, and that the Palestinians are safe and have their own state. I mean, dude, he should look at what the Saudis were doing a couple of decades ago and turn up the heat. If he really supported the Palestinians, he should be turning up the heat on the Israelis and the whole world really right now. He should be cutting oil production to a grinding halt. 0. Look at what that will do to oil prices. That will give a chilling, reminder and a rude awakening to not just Israel, but the entire West and all these garbage politicians who support Israel unequivocally and unconditionally, as to, what is right and wrong, and maybe reset their moral compass. But no, he doesn't do that, unfortunately. What a shame. In any case, this has not just put normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel on hold. It has also put on hold the entire economic corridor on which normalization depends, right? So, which depends on normalization, particularly between Saudi Arabia and the Israelis, because the UAE already underwent this process with Trump and the Abraham Accords and so on. So that is good for China as well. It's good for Iran. It's good for the 150 countries plus that have joined BRICS, the New Silk Road, and the new members that just acceded to BRICS. Because the last thing that China wants to see is some rival economic corridor, being built up just for the sake of screwing with them and messing with their plans, because America is driving this plan and pushing this plan ahead because they just want to screw with the global south. You know, the United States does not profit from this necessarily in any way. It only wants to, you know, achieve a political objective, just like it did with Nord Stream, you know, blowing up the Nord Stream pipelines, severing this economic ties between Russia and Europe with sanctions, and accomplish the same thing between China and you know, this axis that goes from China all the way, you know, Afghanistan, Iran, you know, into Iraq, Syria, and then the Mediterranean Sea and onwards from the Middle East to Europe. So they just want to destroy that, and that's been put on hold for now. So this war now with Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Israelis, or I should say the resistance axis and the Israelis, it has global ramifications. It's very, very important for the global south. It's very important for the future of the world economically and geopolitically. So that is why, you know, that is the only topic that matters right now. Even Ukraine, we stopped hearing about Ukraine for a couple of days. Thank God. Thank God. I was thinking about that, and then I said to myself, well, actually, not really, because a lot of Israelis are Ukrainians and Russians. But anyway, you know, we'll see what happens. It's, you know, no matter what happens, the Israelis lost. The Israelis lost just by virtue of being taken by surprise. There are, no matter how many bombs they drop on Gaza, no matter how many more children and people they kill, or how many people they starve with this Titan siege, they can never erase what happened to them. They can never take away the shame, the stigma, the humiliation that came with Hamas penetrating their piece of shit fence and you know, colonized people rising up from a ghetto against their colonizer. What a victory for the global south. What a victory for Palestine. Candace Strike says, "Sup, old boy? Long time no see. I got me one of those kufias delivered just last week to support Palestine no matter what. Let's go." I'm glad. They are meticulous, and they're made in Palestine. Again, guys, go support them. It's hirbawi.ps. I'm just spelling out the URL for you over here so you can see. So that's hirbawi.ps. And there you go. I like them very, very, very much. They're really nice guys, and it's a family it's a family business. They're the last, you know, the last original Palestinian shop that make this in Palestine. So definitely support their work. They ship worldwide. It's cheap. It's very good, and it's a way to support a Palestinian business. So there you go. And they've got a million colors. I love them. So yeah, again, thank you to everybody for supporting my show as well, and thank you for the super chats and the PayPals. We've got one here from Sanine. Thank you so much. It says, for Gaza, thank you very much, Richard, for such a great insight news coverage. Well, thank you. I'm very appreciative. And I wish there were a way to get this money to them. But as usual, they've cut off Syria. They've cut off Lebanon. They've cut off Palestine. They've cut off Venezuela. They've cut off Iran. You know, all these countries, they've sanctioned them and made sure that, you know, that you can't get any mutual aid to them. It's disgusting. You know, this is part of the sanctions regime. So in any case, I thank you guys very much. And if you want to support my work on Patreon, please do. It's, you know, I don't do like deluxe things or special content. I do my work. It's available for everybody for free worldwide. I'm live right now on Rumble, on Odyssey, on YouTube, on Rockfin. And if you are able to support my work, throw in $1 a month or £2 a month or €3 a month. It doesn't matter. Anything is appreciated. And I'm just putting up the link here. It's patreon.com/RichardMedhurst. And there's also a PayPal. There's also a merchandise store and so on. So we are at 712, and I'm trying to get to 750. That's my goal. So I hope now that we've got a couple of thousand of you guys watching right now, we've got 3,000 people watching. Hopefully we can get to 750. That would really be spectacular. Okay, so we only need 38 more people to join, and I would be so happy if we could hit that goal. So please make sure that you join if you can afford it. I know that after the Ukraine war began and the sanctions, the world is not doing as well as before. So in any case, thank you for the YouTube super chats. I think I missed a couple of them. I'm just going to read them quickly to you. We have one here from Robin. Oh, well, Robin says, where can I buy a scarf like yours? Well, I hope I answered your question. It's hirbawi.ps, right? So hirbawi.ps. Nima says, Iranian here in America. My condolences. The brainwashing is so strong, even the Iranians here believe the lies. Respect to you, my brother. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's very potent. It's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. So yeah, don't worry though. Don't worry. I think as you know, the world changes slowly bit by bit. Propaganda becomes less and less successful, and people start to see through it. So yeah. Deha, thank you for it says thank you for all your in-depth coverage of geopolitics. I'm also a long-time supporter on Patreon. Well, thank you very much. And actually, we just got a new member. I see here we've got Stephanie who just joined. I'll play a crab dance for her in just a jiffy. We've got a super chat here from Crazy Puppet, who says, can you do a review of stances, comments, etc. of current UN Security Council members on Palestine? That's good. Okay, I'll prepare it for tomorrow, and then I'll do it. I can already tell you that the French, British, and American ones will be rather how can I put this diplomatically, no pun intended, unsatisfactory. So yeah. And thank you, Rosa, who just joined on Patreon. This is splendid. This is really, really good. So I think we need, 36 now. We just need 36 more people to join, okay? Come on, guys. We can do it. We can do it. And every time someone joins, I play a crab dance. If you don't know what that is, you'll find out in a moment. Riza, thank you for the donation on PayPal. Riza said, in relation to the talk you made that Americans call everyone a terrorist, when a mosquito bites the president of the United States, they quickly say it is a terrorist attack and start playing the media game and dropping bombs on countries that are not aligned with the US. In fact, Obama was the founder of the ISIS terrorist group who massacred thousands of people. Thank you. Man, I'm kind of angry because I was going to make this point before, and now you stole it from me. So, no, I'm joking. But, you know, this is something you guys should be very, very, you should be very, careful when it comes to this. When they use this word terrorist, always remember that the CIA, by funding and training and arming the Mujahideen, created Al-Qaeda, and then they worked with Al-Qaeda in Iraq, in Syria. They are actively supporting Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is Al-Qaeda in Syria, right? Became Jabhat al-Nusra, and then they changed to HTS. And they give this Jolani, who is a terrorist piece of crap, they put him in a suit and then try to whitewash him and make him look like some kind of leader in Syria, when he's the head of Al-Qaeda over there. And all these groups actually in Syria, many of them had ties and not just to foreign governments, but particularly to Al-Qaeda. Some of their fighters had come from Al-Qaeda, or they had gone to one group, and then that group merged with Al-Qaeda, and then they stayed there. And then, of course, the Americans, they know that ISIS is in the desert. They put them in the desert. They allow them to operate in the desert. They tell you that they are doing all these coalition airstrikes. This is a load of horseshit. Number one, I will remind you that if the Americans had not invaded Iraq, there would be no such thing as ISIS, okay? This is a direct consequence of U.S., British, war crimes and the invasion of Iraq. That's it. Then this spread to Syria, and of course in Libya, also you would not have Boko Haram and ISIS and Al Qaeda running around, and in such dire need of French and American military presence and troops to get rid of them, if the French and the Americans had not killed Gaddafi and allowed terrorists to run wild, not to mention plunging that country into abject poverty and so on. So they create problems that they then try to pretend that they're solving, and of course all the while presenting themselves as the sole cures to said problems. And this goes without saying, when you are dealing with people like Israel, who worked with Al-Qaeda. That's the chief of the Mossad who is saying this, not me. The Israeli intelligence service. This guy goes on Al Jazeera and literally says, we worked with Al-Qaeda because we had the same goal of taking down the Syrian government. What the fuck? What do you mean you worked with Al-Qaeda? What? I thought you're America's greatest ally, and Al-Qaeda attacked the World Trade Center. How does that work? And the Americans say nothing? How weird. How weird of both of you. So the Israelis work with Al-Qaeda because apparently when you have the same goal, even Al-Qaeda, you know, is there's nothing too low for the Israelis or the Americans in this regard, at least the spooks, right? The spooks. And then the Americans, you know, the Europeans, all this terrorism, you know, these terrorism and terrorist, foreign terrorist organization lists that they have, they are only dependent on one thing. Sudan, for example, was removed from the list of state sponsors of terrorism just because it normalized ties with Israel. So apparently the only, you know, the only factor that qualifies a country to be placed on the United States terrorist list is whether it has ties with Israel or not. And if the answer is no, then you put it on the list of terrorist countries. Geez, that says a lot. My point here is that these countries not only have created terrorists, worked with terrorists, but that their definition of terrorism is bullshit. So when the Israelis tell you Israel has a right to defend itself, and Hamas, I hope I said that louder enough for you to understand it was an Israeli, Hamas, are terrorists, you should not believe them. The real terrorists are the Israelis, who have just put 2.1 million people, you know, who are already in a ghetto, right, in Gaza, without they've put them in the dark, without electricity, without food, without fuel, knowing full well that half of them are under 18, they're children. That's terrorism. That's terrorism. Okay, Hamas. You know, let me put it this way: the Israelis make Hamas look like choir boys. They truly do. They really, truly do. It's not even close. We got Sue, we got Bangash, and we got Youth Promo, who've all joined on Patreon. Guys, thank you so much. We are getting closer and closer to the goal, so I will play you guys a crab dance now, and I hope more of you make the decision, if you are able to join on Patreon and support my work. I'd be really, you know, really appreciative, and thank you guys. Let's
clap for that, you stupid bastard. Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you. والله في كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large.
We got him.
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Oh!
Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Why you text in? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it! I yield my time! Fuck you!
Yo, I'm dead. So funny. So funny. Thank you so much, man. I'm dying. I'm really dying. Oh, man. Yo, I don't know what I just saw in the chat. I saw a Crazy Puppet said gifted 50 Richard Medhurst memberships. What the heck? You can do that? Iron Felix, did 20. How does this work? Do I give the memberships to like random people, or does it do it automatically? Or this is amazing. Wow. Steven says, global rule. Everything before Richard was criminal bullshit. Everything with Richard was Enlightenment age. Crab dance! Thank you very much, oh boy. Yes, I would describe myself as the coming of the age of enlightenment. Yes, indeed. Cheers. Oh man, that's good. That's really good. Saint says it's also very insulting that these settlers are occupying some of the most beautiful land on earth. Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny? You know what's funny? Look, again, no one, I truly mean this. If you think that anyone in Hamas or Hezbollah wants to die or to kill other people, you are sorely mistaken. No one wants this. It's the Israelis who insist on staying there. It's the Israelis who insist on using F-16s and gunships to put 2 million people in a ghetto. And I keep repeating this so it gets through, because this is, it's insulting that you turn on the news and they just lie and keep lying. And they either make it seem like, well, Hamas they don't represent the Palestinians. It's just a few people. And then when the Israelis are bombing everyone in Gaza, they don't tell you that. So which one is it? In any case, I just want to say that the Israelis who go there and party on, and throw raves outside of Gaza, they will never know peace. They will never know peace. And it's not because, anyone wants to do them harm. No, anyone who goes there, you or me, if we go to another country and we steal somebody's home, we are going to get shit. Right? You cannot go and do this. And the reasoning is, goddamn hilarious. Like, it's either I am God's chosen person or we are God's chosen people. Okay, what does that mean? God said get in an F-16 and blow a hospital up? Or like, what does that mean? God's chosen people. I don't care. Like, what do the Israelis do when they say that to an atheist? Do they just get blank stares? We stand with Israel. Yeah. Okay, so it's either that or it's my ancestors used to live here. Dude, you're from Ukraine. What the fuck? Who knows where their ancestors were 3,000 years ago? How do you know that? How do you know that? You can't actually prove this. You cannot prove this. No one on earth can prove this. About themselves, about another. You cannot prove it. Like, Netanyahu actually says this shit. It's not just him. All Israelis say this. Yep. We used to be here. No, you weren't. There's a big difference between white Jews, Ashkenazi, and then Jews who are actually from the Middle East, like from the Jewish quarter in Damascus, or from the old city in Jerusalem, or whatever, or from Iraq. That is completely fucking different. You are not from there. This is... You not only can you not prove that, but you're a bullshitter. I know you're a bullshitter because your grandfather is from Ukraine or Poland or something. So how can let me put it to you this way, right? If I went to Normandy in France, okay, up north, which is it's opposite England, and I said, well, I knocked on someone's door in Normandy and I told them. In fluent French, right? Because I speak French. I can tell them, look, I speak fluent French, and my ancestors actually lived in your house, in your apartment, number 5B, 1,000 years ago. They actually came to England with William the Conqueror, and I'd like to have my house back. So can you please fuck off? And by the way, I'm going to put you in a ghetto. Like, I would be locked up and deported if I did that. Or I'd be put in a loony bin, I think. But anyway, do you understand how ridiculous that sounds? That is exactly what Israelis are doing. They go and say, look, we come from here. Guess what? Even, who also comes from there? Like, actually comes from there? Palestinians. And they can prove it. You know why? Because they're Palestinians. 10 generations, you'll find their homes, you'll find their family names, they still have the keys to their goddamn homes, and they've been kicked out, and the Israelis took their homes in the Nakba, and this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous that Israelis use such insane arguments that if anybody else used them, you would be looked at like a crazy person. Maybe I'm crazy and I should go to Normandy and get a house for free. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you want to come with me? Who else is English? Anybody who's English, come with me. I think I can pull this off. I can be quite convincing. Instead of the Bible, I'm going to bring the Bayeux tapestry. Huh? This works. This works. I have a plan. Come with me, guys. We're going to get free houses from the French. Shit, this is brilliant. This is goddamn brilliant. Lynette says the locks have been changed. Damn it. You know what? I'm going to ask the Americans for 3.8 billion. The Auspicious says we're landing on Juno again. That's one of the beaches during D-Day. So Gunny says, do I need a longbow for that? Absolutely. Absolutely, you must bring longbows. Longbows or bust. We're having none of that French shit with crossbows or whatever the hell else they use. Me too, Bakes his locks. Oh man, I love you guys. You know your history. Very good, very good. In any case, so we have oh my god. Fatima says, hello Richard, what are your thoughts on the Nicki Haley tweets? Why did you ruin my evening like this? What did you have to remind me of her? I wanted to burn my eyes out and cut off my ears when I heard her. God, she is insufferable. She's like, she is such. Look, you need to understand something about Nicki Haley. Okay, let me pull up the video before I leave. I'm just gonna leave. One day you guys are gonna make me think of a politician that is so repulsive. I'm gonna just turn off the stream and go away. I'm making Fatima sound so mean right now. But seriously, when you hear Nicki Haley, you will cry with me. I guarantee it. Tears will be shed. God, she is really something else. I mean, really something else. So, okay. I found another jewel, another gem of hers. Hold on, I'm gonna give you multiple. Jesus Christ, it gets better and better. It's like a telenovela. Okay, so please don't hate me after this segment. I want to introduce you to the vibrant, intelligent Nicki Haley. I'm being too kind. So she used to be Donald Trump's ambassador to the United Nations. And she is, you know, like a rabid pro-Zionist, you know, like she cannot, when Nicki Haley wakes up in the morning, the first thing and the only thing on her mind is to grovel before Israel. That is it. So here is Nicki Haley on Fox News, okay?
But let's step back because I want the American people to kind of take this in for a second. Just imagine that here the Israelis woke up and communities were bombarded. Families were murdered. Women and children were taken hostage, dragged through the streets. The elderly were taken. All of this has happened in front of everyone, on top of thousands of rockets that hit Israel. This should be personal for every woman and man in America. Why? Because when they did this surprise attack, when they took these hostages, when they murdered these families, they were celebrating. And what were they celebrating? They were saying death to Israel, death to America. This is not just an attack.
I literally did not see or find one video of that. No one said death to America. She's getting her anti-Iranian and anti-Palestinian, stereotypes mixed up. Literally, no one is saying that. But when people say that, well, it's because you give Israel 3.8 billion, and they use that money to do things like, you know, shooting autistic kids, right? Well, Iyad Halat was 32, but his mother said he has the mental age of a 7-year-old, and he was shot dead, called a terrorist. So you see how much bearing this term has for the Americans. Or I don't know, putting 2 million people in, a ghetto, and then putting imposing a siege on them, and then tightening the siege this morning, dropping bombs on them, and then saying that because they were warned before, their building was demolished and their apartment destroyed and their life destroyed, that, because Israel warns them, they should bow before the Israelis and thank them for giving them for giving the Palestinians their own water. They should be grateful.
On Israel, this is an attack on America, because they hate us just as much. And what we have...
Pretty sure they hate Israel more. I'm pretty sure, because they're living on Palestinian land. That's what it's about. She's really funny, because she was Donald Trump's ambassador to the UN, and she herself is now trying to run for president as a Republican, although you could have easily taken for a Democrat, and Donald Trump's motto, or his campaign slogan, was America first, and she always says America first. What the fuck does Israel have to do with this? Like, what it looks to me like you're putting Israel first. What does this have to do with you? Why I really want to know why people in America should give a crap about Israel. Why? Tell me why. America is an ocean away. Why? I know why Washington cares about Israel. I know that. I know why. And I know why London cares about Israel. Because driving a wedge between the Arab world, physically, geographically, to split the Arab world in two, and to have a giant goddamn base in the Middle East and on the Mediterranean Sea and bordering Syria and bordering Lebanon and Egypt Palestine itself, to be on top of it is, of course, and to take the holy city. Yes, this is a jewel. It's a crown jewel. So obviously, Washington and London care very much, the politicians, about that. Why should the average American give a shit about Israel? Please tell me why. I want to understand, because so far you have given me nothing compelling.
Have to understand is this is the reason that we have to unite around making sure our enemies do not hurt our friends. America can never be so arrogant to think we don't need friends, just like we needed them on 9/11. That's why Ukraine needs us when Russia's doing this. That's why Israel needs us when Hamas and Iran are doing this. And I'll say this to Prime Minister Netanyahu: finish them. Finish them. Hamas did this. Iran's behind it.
I'd like to see him try. So far, he seems to be doing a terrible, terrible job. He was hiding for hours, but I'd like to see him try.
Finish them. They should have hell to pay for what they've just done.
I'm afraid you're finished, my dear. Your segment's up. But nevertheless, she is really an interesting person. She's actually Indian. She changed her name, or I think she uses one of her middle names or something. That's the one that doesn't sound Indian. And she's trying so hard to be white that in her whiteness she has assumed the dialogue, the language, and the role of the master, the white master, right, who has let her into the house. Again, I told you, Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, they're Auntie Toms or Uncle Toms, right? They are slaves who think like the master, who worship the master, who speak like the master, and they believe sometimes in the master's cause more than the master himself. So she is trying so hard to pretend that she's white and to fit in with Washington, D.C. and this political elite, that she is just, mimicking them, like word for word. She's even more. I mean, even Joe Biden does not go on and say, Netanyahu finished them. I've never heard an American president say that. The fucking president. Well, she's trying to run for one, but she is not the president. She speaks like more rabid than Netanyahu himself. It's really a psychological case study, is it not? I mean, this is not just her segment. She goes on Twitter, with these rants. Israel needs our help in this battle of good versus evil. Wow. Here's what we need to do immediately. Provide Israel with all arms and intelligence. I thought you already do. What's the $3 billion doing then? It needs to defend itself and destroy the terrorists in its midst. Place all regional governments, particularly the government of Lebanon, on notice that they must not allow the use of their territory to engage in this battle. What? What does that mean, the use of their territory to engage in this battle? What does that mean? You mean Hezbollah? Hezbollah is different from the government in Lebanon. Those are not the same thing. Besides, need I remind you, Israel is the one that killed 3 Hezbollah fighters today. So if you know, Lebanon or Hezbollah want to retaliate, it's well within their right. Yes? End American taxpayer support for all Palestinian entities or United Nations-backed entities that side with Hamas or fail to denounce anti-Semitic activity. Need I remind you, the government in Gaza is Hamas. So, you know, what do you mean end all activities and funding? I mean, they already have, right? The EU stopped funding and they've already... I mean, they've done everything they can to Gaza many times over. So this is just empty garbage, you know, empty threats. Just an empty tirade. She says, freeze Iranian access to the $6 billion in Qatari banks and send that money to Israel instead. Reimpose and enforce sanctions on Iran and on purchases of Iranian oil. Yeah, okay, blah, blah, blah. You already did that. You know, they kept saying, she keeps saying that the United States gave Iran $6 billion. Okay? But you're saying here that they should freeze access to the $6 billion. How can the United States freeze access if the money is with Iran? Which one is it? Can the United States block the money or not? It can't be both at the same time. That, oh, the Iranians have the money, but we can still block access to it. Which one is it? The truth is that the Iranians did not get the money. As she says, it's in a Qatari bank. But she wants you to think that the Iranians have it, right? And sending it, I mean, this bitch has grown bold, right? She's watching, she's seen the Russian money taken, right, from all these billionaires and given to the Ukrainians. And the 300 billion that is still sitting there, frozen, stolen is the better and more correct term. She is looking at this new tactic that's been employed where you rob a government and then give it to another government that you like more, and thinking that, oh, well, they can do the same thing now with Iran. I would like you to, I would really like to see you try, because the Russians, when you did that to the Russians, the whole world was like running in the other direction. And you've clearly not learned your lesson. You're still going to pay for that. You're going to pay for this by becoming less and less relevant, the dollar becoming less relevant. I mean, there's so much wrong with what she's saying. She's really crooked in many, many ways. Look, here's more of this.
Let me tell you what Hamas did. They went into the streets and celebrated, saying, death to Israel, death to America.
You stole their land. I really don't know how to make this clearer. When you go to somebody's country and you steal their land, they have the right to kick you out. That's just how it is. I don't know how to explain this any simpler than that. She's clearly not getting it.
Think about that. Death to Israel, death to America.
Dude, the difference is that they only say this. You actually kill them and inflict death upon them. You actually literally kill them. You bring literal death to Palestinians. True death. You murder them. You kill them. You finish them off. You know, and she's literally saying, finish them off. Finish who off? Who? You know, Israel, for the most moral army in the world and all this high tech, they suck at targeting. That's the truth is that they are, you know, they're actively and purposely just randomly bombing Gaza. They don't give a shit. Anything for them is a terrorist target. Even Al Jazeera, you know? I know some people who watch Al Jazeera Arabic are probably laughing now because of how bad Al Jazeera can be sometimes. You know, it depends English, Arabic, so on. But no, seriously here. They bombed the Associated Press. This joke is getting worse. No, forget the media and how bad they can be. Listen, in 2021, in May, Israel bombed a tower where Al Jazeera and the Associated Press had offices in, and they were literally pleading with them on the phone, can you not fucking bomb our news outlet and the offices because we need to work? You are bombing 2 news companies, you know? Like, nope, we're gonna bomb you. Shall I show you the video? Would you like to see it? Maybe Nicki Haley will get this through a thick head. Here's the Al Jazeera tower being bombed May 2021 in Gaza. In Gaza, same place, same everything, okay?
This is a message.
God, this is from this conflict. It's so funny when you look these things up in Palestine. You find like 10 different versions of the same crime, but from different times. So you'll find the Israelis doing this exact same thing in like in 2012 or here.
Not people who are going in to get weapons out.
But there was no arguing, not even about the timing.
There you go.
Al Jazeera Gaza journalist Safwat Al-Khalout was live on air as he watched his workplace of 11 years vanish in front of him.
We panicked, frankly, we panicked.
Yeah? But remember, Hamas are the terrorists. Nicki Haley says so. Clearly a grand mind in geopolitics and international relations. The grand savant, Nicki Haley.
Think about that. Death to Israel, death to America.
Yes, I can't for the life of me imagine why someone would say that after you put them in a ghetto and blow everything up around them. I just can't understand why.
The Iranian regime hates us. You don't give money to a regime
that's not true. Iran does not hate Americans. They just hate some assholes in the CIA. That's it. That's it.
Hates America. Let me tell you what.
Yeah. So you understand how she is, right? She is not too different from someone like Ursula von der Leyen. I mean, not really. No. They stand for the same things. And it's just it's funny watching her because she's so. I don't know. She's wilder. She sometimes speaks wilder than even like the most rabid Zionists in Israel. Like even Netanyahu doesn't speak like this finish them off. He does it. He'll go and do it, which is worse. I understand, but it's funny watching her. She's so desperate to like be a good parrot, a good doggy. Okay, well done. I think we can give her full marks. Do you all agree? Please comment in the chat. 11 out of 10. Well done, Nicki. You're fabulous. Jolly good show. So I hope I answered your question, Fatima. Yeah, I saw her. I saw Nicki Haley's tweets. Yes. Yo, Crazy Puppet, thank you for the super chats. How do I gift them? I want to gift them, or I don't know if they're automatically gifted or how this goes, but Red Bear says she's very much an insufferable Australia's yeah, I know the favorite 4-letter word with you Aussies. I know what it is. Fatima says, lol, she is so unhinged. She is. Belugi, or I don't know if it's Belugi. The Beluga says, Nicki Haley is a Bollywood villain. Not Bond villain, a Bollywood villain. I don't think she'd take too kindly to that, given that she's trying so hard to hide that she's Indian. I don't understand what's wrong with being Indian. She's the one who has a problem with it. She's like, really just she wants to be as white as they come, and when I say that, I mean like, London, Washington, political elite white in politics, in foreign policy especially. That's what she wants to be. In any case, it's okay. I think she provides us with good comic relief, She gives us good comic relief, so, Marcus, I saw your comment. Don't worry, you don't have to spam. Saying, talk about Iran's action in next step. Well, look, Iran don't need to do anything. Iran have provided Hamas with years of support. By the way, I just want to say one thing. I want you guys to remember that if we talk about Hamas and them being in the resistance axis along with Syria, Hamas and Syria did not get along a couple of years ago. Hamas, they were against the Syrian government. They wanted it to fall and so on. Very interesting, right? So it's kind of cool seeing everybody iron out the differences and realize there's a bigger strategy at play and more important goals. Ophelia says, show the Bible thumpers video of Zionists spitting on Christians, Richard. Zionism is evil like Nicki. Free Palestine. Yeah, I mean, look, I you know, I don't know what the hell people are smoking in hold on, I'll get the video out. Okay, give me a second. Man, this is really funny because I looked it up about with the Israelis spitting on
Jews spit toward Christians.
Yeah, and I found a video from 5 days ago, from 2 months ago, from 1 month ago, from 5 months ago. There's so many videos of Israelis spitting on Christians in Palestine, right? So I just want to say this because you know, there are some people who I don't know where they got this idea from, who are Christian in the United States, you know, and evangelical, and think that it's good to support Israel. No, this is ridiculous because if you think there's anything Christian about Israel, I mean, just look at their behavior. Tell me what, you know, is it Mark 12:16 where he says, "Thou shalt get into thine F-16 and bomb Palestinians"? No, this is. You know, apartheid, this is racism, this is putting people into ghettos. That's what Israel is. It doesn't match with anything in the Bible. So I don't know what the relation is here. You know, the Christians who are actually from this area, Palestinian Christians, even, you know, priests who come maybe from Germany or whatever, you know, there was one of them who was from Germany and he was told to put his cross away. The guy's in his, you know, he's dressed in his work outfit, basically. He's a priest. He's dressed with a priest's got a crucifix, and he's being told to put it away, you know, like in Jerusalem. Yeah, you don't understand. This is not something about Muslims versus Jews. No, this is European Jewish settlers who, you know, just, they don't want Muslims. They don't want Christians. They don't want other Jews who are not Zionists. And it's just, Israel and Zionism, it's a political ideology. That's what Israel comes down to. Zionism, which is, it's all about politics and it's nothing to do with, you know, here, it's a video.
Toward Christians carrying a cross in occupied East Jerusalem this week, an act of religious hatred, igniting a scandal in Israel and beyond. Other videos, also widely seen on social media, show Jews spitting toward nuns outside a church. And yet another where Jews spit at a church doorway. Israeli police say they have arrested 5 people, one a minor, in the latest incident. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the spitting attacks. But religious leaders, including the top Roman Catholic cardinal in Jerusalem, say they're concerned over a rising number of anti-Christian acts in Israel. Some ultranationalist and settler leaders say spitting at or near Christians and churches is a legitimate Jewish tradition with a long history. Meanwhile, more than 1,400 ultranationalists and settlers entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex on Wednesday under Israeli police escort. They're seeking to establish a clear Jewish presence in one of Islam's holiest places. Non-Muslims are allowed entry on certain days of the week and at certain times, but not allowed to pray. But some parties in Netanyahu's right-wing government want to upend the decades-long status quo to allow Jewish prayer at the site, a confrontational move that Palestinian officials say would lead to an explosion of violence. Nearby, Israeli police told Palestinian shopkeepers near the entrance to Al-Aqsa to close their businesses for hours each day during the current week-long Jewish Sukkot holiday so that ultra-Orthodox Jews could pray as close as possible to the site. Despite a tense atmosphere, no serious incidents of violence have been reported in the city in recent days. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera.
Yeah, look, I'm just gonna, I'll finish by saying this. These American, or I don't know, otherwise, you know, Western, or whoever thinks that because they're a Christian they should support Israel, you're out of your mind. Please go to Israel and see how they treat you. I think that's self-evident, you know. there are many Christians in Palestine, of course, obviously, many Christians in Lebanon, many Christians in Syria, like myself. You know, my mother's side of the family are Syrian Christian. They, you know, not one would, you know, feel safe in Israel or close to Israel or, you know, think that Israel would be friendly to them just because, you know, by virtue of being Arab Christian instead of Arab Muslim. There is no difference for the Israelis. They don't give a shit. Even you can be Arab Jewish and they will, if you're anti-Zionist, they will crap all over you. They don't care. This is about being Zionist, you know. For them, they just want to make sure that this is a Zionist ethno-state. So, you know, I really challenge, I dare these American evangelicals who think that, you know, Israel is something good or that they care about Christians. Please go ahead and look how they treat you. You know, they'll accommodate you maybe for a little bit because they want American support. And this is just one of the ways that they get people in America to kind of, you know, shut up about Israel and think that, oh, well, Israel should be, you know, on friendly terms with the United States. It's just a voter, you know, it's just a tactic to win over voters. That's it. It has no basis in reality. If you were actually there, you would experience that. That's what you would experience. And look, I can show you. It's so funny because I was looking this up, and look, I looked up Israelis spitting on Christians. There's one from a month ago. The one I showed you is from 5 days ago. There's one from 2 months ago. There's one from 5 months ago. It's never ending, right? And here I want to show you the German guy, and what happened to him. Right? This is a priest.
But it's really big and it's inappropriate for this place. Okay, that's a Jewish place. You need to respect this. Can you please put it inside?
Okay, this is very harsh. It's very harsh. No, you're not respecting.
Can you please stop taking pictures?
You're not respecting. You're hindering me from my human right to. No, this is not provocation. I'm an abbot. This is my dress. This is how I'm dressed.
I told you to do something with your dress code. I told you to do something with your cross.
The cross is part of my dress code. I'm a Roman Catholic abbot. This is how I dress. So you want from me that I am not dressed as my.
That's Israel. That's Israeli democracy for you. Yeah, I think I rest my case. So in any case, thank you guys for tuning in. And Me Too Big says, I'll give you this for telling the truth instead of spending it on the horse races. Lol, happy day. Well, thank you very much, Me Too Big. I'm glad I could tempt you away from gambling. And no, I'm joking, but thank you. You're very kind. And I know I asked this before, but it's probably gone up in the comments. So someone please tell me again. How do you gift these memberships, Crazy Puppet? Because you've been very generous in mass gifting them. I see like 50 or something wild, 150. Do I have to do something, or do they get distributed automatically, or how does it work? I'm just wondering. In any case, think before you type says Western Christians don't care when Jesus is openly insulted, but when Israel get criticized, they get angry as if you insulted their chosen God people. You nailed it. I have nothing to add. Okay, Block Rock says they distribute automatically. This is great. Now some of you are spamming the chat with emojis, and I love it. I really do. I mean, they're actually not emojis. They're even better. They're pictures that, oh my God, there we go. Crazy Puppet has done it again. Truly a crazy puppet. No, I'm joking. But look at this. We've got tons of emojis. This is wonderful. Are you guys liking them? I'm gonna have to add more. I'm sorry. I'm just checking to see where. Claudia added Abdel Nasser, the Egyptian president. Look at that. We've got Putin riding a bear. You've got yours truly. We've got George Bush with a shoe. We've got Gaddafi. Have fun. So in any case, thank you guys very, very much. And I will also issue some thanks to Fawcett, and we have also Puts the Mouse, who've joined on Patreon. So I will play you a crab dance in due course, and we've got some Rockfin tips. This is from Eric. Eric says, glad to see such a victory like Tet Offensive, free Palestine. Thank you very much. Yeah, it is like the Tet Offensive. That is exactly what I think of when I'm contemplating the recent events, because it's just, they took them by storm. They caught them with their pants down. I mean, the Israelis never ever thought that something like this will happen. Never. They got so arrogant. Marvin says, you think Israel will use attack to start World War III with Iran and break up BRICS? Mutual beneficial for U.S. and Israel. Biden will be a wartime president. Stop Trump. Okay, so look, when it comes to World War III with Iran, I don't think so, because Israel wants, of course, the United States to come fight Iran for them. But the Israelis cannot handle Hamas, never mind Hezbollah, never mind Iran. They look how they were unable to respond to Hamas. They have still been unable to respond. They have done nothing to Hamas's leadership, to Hamas's structure as an organization, to Hamas brigade commanders, Hamas units. They have done nothing to the funding for Hamas. They've done nothing for the training. They have not even put a dent in Hamas in any way. They cannot do that. Hamas is like the spearhead. They are literally the tip of the spear on the entire region, getting back Palestine, getting back Syria, getting back Lebanon, getting back, the actual land, and kicking out the colonizers. So, they're very much respected now. Even the Israelis, I can assure you, some of the people in the military are scratching their heads and going, wow, they actually did that. There's a professional, if you will, there's a professional amount of respect from people who are in the armed forces, whether it's the Israelis or outside, who are looking at Hamas for having done, excellent intelligence, excellent execution of an operation, and, having no leaks whatsoever, no leaks. No one fucked this operation up or spoke about this operation before. Lips sealed, tight as a drum. That is, there's a saying, right? Loose lips sink ships. I think they had it back in World War II on the posters, and the walls have ears and so on. This is really, you would struggle to find this in a professional army. Try setting up an attack with the, I don't know, pick some regiment in the U.S. Army. So one of those people is going to blab to their family or their friends or something. At least one, and they could put it at risk. This with Hamas, especially, you have to consider that, again, we're not going to give the Israelis credit or something, because they don't deserve any credit. Morally, they deserve no credit, and militarily, and when it comes to intelligence matters, they clearly deserve no credit. But I just want to say that Hamas does not have access to the same infrastructure when it comes to radar, electronic warfare, signals intelligence, collecting data, text messages, satellite. They don't have American resources or British resources or European resources, which Israel has access to. And again, they still were able to achieve this. So what does that tell you? That tells you that Hamas is on a higher level in every domain, militarily and intelligence and in planning and operations, than all of these actors that I just mentioned. No one allowed this to happen. I don't, these are just Israelis who are moaning and thinking, oh, we are infallible. We make no mistakes. We would have no Hamas is coming. No, you don't. You didn't. No Israeli in their lifetime would allow this to happen. Never. Their pride, they have too much fucking pride. It's intoxicating, right? Like literally, they are inebriated on their own bullshit. And that's actually why this happened, because they thought, oh, it could never happen, right? So why even prepare? Well, anyway, thank you guys very much. I appreciate you tuning in. I owe you a crab dance. And again, if you can support my work, please consider tuning in every single time, sharing the videos, liking the video, joining on Patreon, sending a PayPal. And I'm going to give a shout out to all of you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Crazy Puppet, for spamming all the memberships. Here's the crab dance. This is for all of you.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you.
والله في كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me? Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s. A number 9 large.
we got him. Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Why you text Sanders? Why? Oh, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you!
So you have another terrorist attack in Ukraine. This time it's the Kakhovka Dam. And the first thing the media do is blame the Russians. So let's see why the Russians would do it. They control the dam. They control the region. They need the dam to funnel water to Crimea, which is also under Russian control. They literally have zero motive. There is no motive. You know, the Washington Post in December published an article showing how Ukraine targeted this dam using American missiles, using the HIMARS system. They actually fired a missile at this dam to test if they could flood areas. Sound familiar? This is the same thing that we saw with the Nord Stream pipeline attacks, right? The first thing the press do is let's go and blame Russia. And now, almost a year later, the Washington Post finally admits that Ukraine, not Russia, Ukraine blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. This is something that I, myself, and others have been saying since the very beginning. Anyone with half a brain knew that it was not Russia. Russia would not blow up their own pipeline. But, you know, this was dismissed as a crackpot conspiracy theory that NATO would maybe do this, or Ukraine. No, that's Russian propaganda. And another example, the Nazi patches. This week, the New York Times also finally admit that Ukrainian soldiers en masse are wearing Nazi patches to the point that Western journalists have to ask them to hide the patches before they take photos of them. I mean, this is despicable on another level. And then later they claim that these are authentic photos. This is not journalism. This is curated propaganda. So are the New York Times and Washington Post doing propaganda now, right? They're doing Russian disinformation. These people are not doing journalism, all right? You guys are a year late. Only publishing the truth when nobody cares anymore. That's not journalism, okay? They are the ones doing disinformation. They are the ones doing propaganda. And these acts of state terrorism, blowing up pipelines and dams, European leaders say literally absolutely nothing. And all they do is give more money and more weapons to an army where men are wearing Nazi patches and blowing up our infrastructure. So what's the conclusion? Always ask yourself, who stands to gain? Whether we're talking about the Crimea Bridge, Nord Stream pipelines, or the Kakhovka Dam like today, always ask yourself who stands to benefit, and you'll find the answer, you'll find the truth. So everyone's talking about how Donald Trump has been indicted under the Espionage Act. But what a lot of people don't understand is that the Espionage Act is a law that has always been used in the United States as a political tool to silence opponents. It was crafted in 1917, so during World War I, and one of its most famous victims was Eugene Debs. He was given 10 years in prison and stripped of his citizenship because he gave an anti-war speech. Ellsberg, Manning, Kiriakos, Snowden, they were all charged under the Espionage Act as well, and none afforded a public interest defense. Yet another reason why the Espionage Act is a political tool to silence whistleblowers. quite literally, even in court. Even worse, it's also being used to threaten Julian Assange, a publisher, with almost 200 years in prison. So many people are upset about Trump putting classified documents in the bathroom. I wonder if they care just as much about freedom of speech and press freedoms. Trump definitely put America's national security at risk, not for bringing home documents, but assassinating Soleimani, the equivalent of Iran's defense minister. How come Trump's critics never attack him for actual crimes, like putting illegal sanctions on millions of people or stealing oil from Syria?
We're keeping the oil. We have the oil. The oil is secure. We left troops behind only for the oil.
If you love Ukraine, if you care about Ukraine, depleted uranium is the last thing in the world that you would tell them to use. If you look at what the United States have done, everywhere they've used depleted uranium, it's like dropping a nuclear bomb, and actually worse in other ways. Just to give you an example, in Fallujah in Iraq, guess what? 10, 20 years later, there are people in Fallujah who are being born with cancer. And it's so bad that you have higher rates of birth defects and congenital heart disease in Fallujah than you do in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. In Nagasaki and Hiroshima, you knew that there was a nuclear explosion and you had to get the hell away from there if you could. The thing is, the people in Iraq didn't know what the Americans had put in the tank shells. They dropped so much white phosphorus, they used so much depleted uranium. The people living there have no clue about this. The war is bad enough without knowing that, if you live there and you stay there, you're going to get cancer and your kids are going to be born with these massive nightmarish birth defects. And now they want to bring this literally cancerous thing, depleted uranium, and use it in Ukraine. If you love Ukraine, if you care about Ukraine, depleted uranium is the last thing in the world that you would tell them to use, because guess who's going to suffer from that? The people in Ukraine, right? Like, if their idea is to liberate Ukraine, right? Okay, let's say that they do. Tomorrow morning, Zelensky's going to emerge victorious over the Donbass and Crimea, and he's going to go have a nice parade, right? Guess what? All the people returning to their homes, or all the people living there, you're going to give those people in Ukraine cancer because you use depleted uranium, because this stuff goes in the earth. It seeps into the earth, into the soil, into the water. It's actually worse than a nuke. Truly. Because people don't even know that it's there. They have no clue that they're living next to things that are going to give them cancer and destroy their DNA and give their children massive birth defects. They don't even know that it's there. It's like a silent killer. They don't care about you, man. They don't care about you. This is bad for the environment, obviously. That doesn't even need stating. And it's bad for human beings, and it's bad for wildlife, for everyone. But it's good for it's good if you manufacture it. It's very good.
This is explosive. This is mind-blowing. How do we know that it's the Ukrainians who haven't held up their end of the deal, but the Russians have? The deal was that the Russians will pull out of Kiev. At the time, the media that we have here in the West, they were saying, oh, the Russians have failed. Their army sucks. That's actually not at all what happened. The Russians pulled back on purpose and left the capital. They left Kiev because of this peace agreement. Boris Johnson was the prime minister at the time, and he just randomly happens to go and visit Zelensky. And he tells Zelensky, drop out of the peace negotiations, drop out. Zelensky did what Boris Johnson told him to do. Angela Merkel, who is the German chancellor, she says that in the end, the Minsk agreement, it was just a ruse in order to buy time for NATO to arm Ukraine. This means that, once again, you cannot take Western leaders and diplomats seriously. The Russians are done talking. This is the conclusion that I draw from this, because they have had it up to here with Ukraine and their backers and guarantors, just playing games with them. So just remember the next time that the media tell you that the Russians walked away from peace talks, that this is a lie. And when they tell you the next time that Russia wanted this war, that this is a lie. Just remember these things.
Some in Iran wanted Iran to go to war with the Taliban. And actually, they were liberals. They were the pro-Western liberals who were saying that we should, go to the defense of the Tajiks, who are Persian speakers, the Hazaras, who are predominantly Shia, and the Uzbeks and others. They together are more than 50%. Taliban is basically Pashtun, They are 40% roughly 40% of the country. It's sort of ironic because the people who are calling for Iran to wage war against the Taliban, they were totally against the Russians in Ukraine. Their logic is not dissimilar to the logic of the Russians. These people were saying we should go to the support of the Persian speakers. Why not the Russians support Russian speakers? But yeah, that hypocrisy is aside. The Iranian government said, look, we have to keep Afghanistan peaceful, and it's had enough war.
South Africa, China, Brazil, all these countries that are BRICS countries. So you know, they are partners with Russia. They're not condoning Russia. They're actually saying, hey, everybody calm down and let's resolve this. And all you see is media attacking them. They attacked South Africa for proposing diplomacy. They attack Lula for trying to sit down Zelensky. Zelensky makes him wait and then doesn't even show up to the meeting. I mean, how insulting in any context, right? Never mind a goddamn president of the largest country in Latin America. So they try to like attack the countries closest to Russia for actually suggesting peace. Maybe South Africa should give some F-16s instead of being a Putin puppet, right? Maybe China should send some F-16s instead of being a Kremlin asset.